Hey everyone, guess what?
Chicken butt?
It's GameFace on Sifted. Surprise!
I was right.
It's Friday night here in Sifted Land. A couple of days later than usual because we wanted to make sure we could talk about the Game Awards and Smash Brothers and a couple other things. And to be perfectly honest, if we had done the show on Tuesday, it would have been terrible. So a couple of days is going to make a big difference for GameFace. Hope you guys are having a great Friday night. Hope you guys ultimately have a great weekend. You're certainly kicking it off at the right place. A couple housekeeping things we want to get to before we move forward. First of all, I want to give you an update on the Sifted Fantasy Football League. So I know some of you guys don't care about this. We're going to keep it very short, but I just want to give you an update on what's going on. Sam, bring up the graphic. So the playoffs start this week. The regular season for fantasy football is 13 weeks, so the playoffs start this weekend. I eked my way into the playoffs with a 6-7 record, a losing record, but I was one of the highest scorers in the league ultimately, and that's one of the tiebreakers to get in. So the first week of the playoffs this week, it's me versus Mitch, and Mitch is just Mitch on Sifted. And then the winner of that will move on to play Robert Diana next week. And then in the other bracket, it's Paul Krupka and Guido, and I hope I say this right, Guido Bernertz. I believe I said that right.
Maybe.
The winner of that game will move on to play Colin Wallace, and that is Matt Kyle Rocks. So Matt Kyle Rocks ended up getting the bye.
Doing pretty well.
Robert Diana got the bye. So whoever wins these games move on next week to play Robert Diana and Colin Wallace, and then the winner of those two games will meet for the championship in Week 16. So chances are the way it works, the rest of you won't know who won the league until we get back from the holidays, because the fantasy championship happens like right around Christmas. So I wanted to give you an update there. That was 6. Those are the top 6 teams out of a 12-person league. I do want to take a second to thank everybody for playing. To the 6 teams who didn't make the playoffs, you guys all did great. You guys all stayed engaged throughout most of the year, except for one person I'm not going to call out. We did have one person who kind of faded off at the end and stopped starting his team, which can be a problem. But for the most part, the entire league did great. They stuck with it until the end. So thanks to everybody for playing. Congratulations to the other 5 owners who made it into the playoffs. But I'm not going to wish you any good luck, because ultimately you may play me. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I was pretty happy to make the playoffs in that league because I was kind of struggling along most of the year, and I kind of turned it around at the end of the year to sneak on in there. So give you an update on that as soon as we have one. What else do we got? Obviously, we're going to talk about the Game Awards. We're going to talk about Smash Brothers. I mentioned in a couple episodes ago that we're going to do some more game streaming. And for the most part, we have done that. We did a stream of Pokemon Let's Go, and that went fine. And then I tried to do a stream of Red Dead Online, which we're also going to talk about later on in the episode. And that ended up being a complete debacle. OBS had some weird issue. And here's what I hate about programs that are constantly updated. So I had OBS all set up, basically thinking all I had to do was just open it up and just go. Right when I open it up, it does a quick update. The program updates automatically. You can't even tell it to not update. And I start the stream. Stream seems fine at first, and eventually it just turned into like a slideshow. So it appears that they had changed something in the program that was no longer working congruently with my system or whatever. And it's like, okay, now I got to ferret it out and figure out what the problem is. Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we're trying to stream more. We're having some technical issues. In fact, we never even posted the archive of that Red Dead stream because it was so bad. But I'm going to stream tomorrow. And probably tomorrow I'm going to play some Smash. So you guys can come and kick my butt. And kick my butt you will. I'll probably play some Just Cause 4. And I just got some Battle Princess Madeline that I think I'm going to play a little bit. So stream will probably kick off around 1 p.m.-ish tomorrow Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern. And I'll just basically play until I get sick of it. So probably for a few hours or something like that. So hop on, hang out, let's have a fun Saturday. You guys are all going to be getting Smash here in the next 24 hours. Come and kick my butt live on the stream, and we'll have at it. So we have a big show today. In fact, this is the 3rd most clips we've had in an episode this entire year. I have 6 pages of notes for today's episode. We're going to go in-depth, hardcore on the Game Awards, and we're going to kick it off right now with that. So, Game Awards were last night. We're going to have this discussion kind of structured We're going to talk first about the awards. Then we're going to talk about all the games that were announced. Then we're going to talk about the performances, the live performances that were there. And then finally, we're just going to finish with our overall impressions of the show. Okay. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so first we're going to talk about the actual awards. Now, Matt and I took it upon ourselves to make predictions on what we thought would be the winners of 13 different categories. And there were way more categories than that. We just kind of handpicked 13 that we thought you guys might actually care about. So I think it was 2 episodes ago we did that. Yeah. So we went through 13 categories, and this isn't what we think should win. This is what we thought all the journalists would pick. And as it turns out, the fan component ended up being a much bigger component than I think we had anticipated whenever we made our picks. Mm. But our overall report card, I'll just give you the numbers. Matt and I both chose 8 out of 13 correctly. So we did okay.
Better than chance.
Yeah, it's better than flipping a coin, I guess. But I thought we would do far better than that. So there were a couple surprises. So we're going to go through the 13 awards that we chose very quickly and tell you what we thought was going to win and then what ultimately won. So, best debut indie game. Both Matt and I thought it was going to be Moss, which was one of the best PlayStation VR games of the year, but as it turns out, it was The Messenger.
Yeah, I would not have seen that one coming.
No. I mean, if you remember during that episode, you and I were both like, we don't even really know what The Messenger is.
Yeah, because I kept confusing it with, because it's that Ninja Gaiden
ripoff,
sort of ripoff, yeah. And I kept confusing it with the what's the one that Suda51 just did, where it's like the side-scrolling like action puzzler thing where you play a dead girl who has to blow her limbs off to solve the puzzles and stuff.
I don't know.
It's another like the M something.
Oh.
It was similar.
Well, there's the Silver Case, but that was one of his old games.
This is not him. This is it's brand new. It came out like 2 months ago.
Someone in chat will tell us.
The Missing. That's
okay.
it. Thanks, Vincent.
It's The Messenger. This Ninja Gaiden.
The Messenger, The Missing.
I can see where the confusion would come from. But so this is the VGA's pick for the best first game from an indie studio.
Yeah, the debut.
Yeah, the first an indie studio that released its first game, and this is the winner.
I mean, okay.
Not very original.
No, I didn't play that, so I
didn't either.
If it was any
because
good.
It looked so derivative. I was like, I'll just play an old Ninja Gaiden game instead of playing that. Next up, best multiplayer game. Matt and I both said Fortnite, and in fact, it was Fortnite.
I mean, if you voted against Fortnite, you're off in crazy town, frankly. I mean, it was, especially because it's like, yeah, you got the Fortnite people there, you got Fortnite people watching, you want to give Fortnite something.
Yeah. Fortnite was a big part of the show in general.
Yeah.
Between Ninja, who was on stage like 3 separate times, and Epic came up a couple different times, and it was... And rightfully so, a big part of the show. It's one of the biggest, it's probably the biggest story in gaming for 2018.
Yeah.
Fortnite. So I can understand.
I think it's either that or Sony pulling out of E3. And that story's more about next year.
Yeah. But still a story that broke this year. So, and when we do our Game of the Year awards, by the way, we only have 2 more episodes of GameFace left for the year. Mm. So we have 1 regular episode next week, and then we have our Game of the Year episode after that. So we got to cram everything else into these last 2 episodes that we have here. Next up was Best Sports and Racing. We both chose Forza Horizon 4. In fact, the winner was Forza Horizon 4. I don't know how you could rationally give it to anything else when all the competitors were annualized sports franchises. Mm-hmm. And none of which, by the way, had really broken any ground this year. To me, Forza Horizon 4 was the easy winner. The category's weird to begin with. Just putting racing with sports games is a little odd. But if you look at the other nominees in that category, it was clear what game should have won, and ultimately...
I mean, it's either that or you leave racing out completely, and because there's not enough racing games to really fill out a category anymore.
There's not, yeah. And apparently there's not enough sports games either. Let's see, next up, best fighting game. Matt and I... We start out hot here, Matt. Matt and I both chose Dragon Ball FighterZ, and in fact, Dragon Ball FighterZ won.
Yeah, there's no other choice there.
Yeah, I mean, this was maybe the easiest pick of them all. Yeah, particularly if you did listen to the community and the fans at all, which the Game Awards did. Shoe in win, and rightfully so. Again, easily the best fighting game this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, for the most part, I think the fighting game stuff was well represented. Sonic Fox was a good pick. It was a fun speech he did. Mm-hmm. The one thing I did call out was it was the one of the best esports moments or something. One of the nominees was Sonic Fox versus Goichi, but Ichi is Japanese for one, and he writes his name as Go numeral 1, and Jeff read it as Go 1, which is
not that surprising though.
I mean, you can keep all that esports stuff straight, right? I'm sure I'd mispronounce something else in one of the other categories, but I was like, no, it's Goichi, you fool! Like,
there is also like 9 esports awards.
Oh yeah, they burned through that
like
real, go.
9 categories for esports.
Yeah, they gave it almost 90 seconds
Yeah.
for all of them. Like, it was
For all of them. Next up, best RPG, and Matt, you have an axe to grind with this one. We both chose Monster Hunter World, and in fact, Monster Hunter World did win.
Yeah, it seemed pretty obvious, but it's not an RPG.
Yeah.
It's like it's an action game, or an adventure game. If you want, like, I would not categorize this as anything. At most, it's an action RPG. The other 4 nominees are much more traditional RPGs.
They're turn-based RPGs.
And on top of that, like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is an action RPG, folks. Like,
but it was an action adventure.
Like the genre mixing is very weird here, and it feels like they basically were kind of throwing a bone to Monster Hunter World because it's so popular and clearly wasn't going to win anything else.
That could be again the influence of the fan vote.
Yeah, but I mean,
Monster Hunter World's been a smash hit.
Even without the fan vote, like looking at that category, I clearly, I picked it.
Yeah.
Like I knew that was what was going to win.
But we picked what we thought was going to win, not what we think deserved to
win.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
But even without the fan vote, I'm saying I thought the journalists would pick Monster Hunter World because everybody except me is over the moon over this stupid game.
Yeah.
So
it's a good time waster.
It was just a weird thing to include in an RPG category because it looks like you'd think it was an RPG because it's dragons and swords but it's not. It's an action game. You're crafting armor and weapons, but there's no
level progression.
The level progression, there's no skill tree. There's no it's not really anything like that. It's an action.
It's just
game.
Hey, I have this new axe. I have this new sword.
Yeah, so I would not categorize this as an RPG, but if you don't categorize it as an RPG, it doesn't win anything. So
I think a lot of people may look at
double-edged sword there.
Yeah, I think some people may say, "Oh, well, the creatures have hit points, and therefore everybody kind of has their own thing."
Every enemy in a game has hit points. You just either see it or you don't.
See
the guys in Red Dead Redemption have hit points.
Exactly. Yeah, and either the developers decide to show you the bar, or they decide not to. Next up, and here's where we start to fall off the wagon a little bit. Best action adventure. Matt and I both thought Red Dead Redemption 2 would win, and the winner was God of War.
Yeah, I was expecting Red Dead to basically sweep. The fact that it didn't is very interesting.
It is very interesting. Because in some ways it did. It swept all the categories that could be found in the Oscars.
Yeah, it won all the technicals, as they would say with the Oscars.
And best voice actor and all that
Which
kind of
I don't
stuff.
agree with, but okay. Of those nominees, I would have given it to Christopher Judge. Because Arthur Morgan's a fine character, and that guy whose name I can't remember did a good job. And it's interesting hearing him speak in the acceptance speech because he sounds nothing like Arthur Morgan. So clearly he was working hard making that voice like a real character that was not anything like himself. But to me, Christopher Judge, his performance is going to be referenced, and he is going to be an iconic performance for years to come. 10 years from now, you're still going to be able to say, boy, and people are going to know you're doing Kratos.
Yeah. I think you couldn't have gone wrong with either one of those.
No,
things.
but you can go out one way or the other. But I really feel like, Christopher Judge turning this character who has been something very different for 6 games before this into this new version of the character and selling it and making it feel like you never had anyone else ever voicing it. You can't imagine him as anyone else now. I think he hit it out of the park a little more than kind of. Again, it's the Red Dead Redemption 2 thing is like a technically incredible piece of work. Technically amazing performance as Arthur Morgan, but was the performance of the year that to me is going to resonate the most is Christopher Judge's Kratos.
Fair enough. And again, this is where we start to get stuff wrong. Next up, Best Action Game, which typically at the Game Awards is Best First-Person Shooter. It's usually filled with that genre. This year, not the case. So we actually chose 2 different options on this one.
And we both got head faked.
Yeah, we both got it wrong. So you took Black Ops 4, and I actually took Destiny just to be different. I was like, man, we keep picking the same thing. We were both wrong. The winner was Dead Cells.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
I definitely didn't see it coming.
I don't necessarily disagree with it.
No.
But I was nice to see them get the recognition.
Yeah, it's good to see an indie win against these other games
Yeah.
that were made with, in some cases,
Yeah,
like 1,000 times the budget.
Yeah, it's good to see the indie game win in a category not designed for indie games.
At all. Yeah, I mean, if there's one category made for the big budget AAA game, that's it. Best action game. So even though the nominees were a little weird, it didn't kind of fit together, still cool to see that a smaller game ended up winning. And also, Dead Cells, the team, seemed like they were completely blown away.
Yeah, I don't think they expected any more than we did.
It was pretty awesome to watch. Next up, Best VR and AR Game. And we got this one right. Both of us picked Astrobot Rescue Mission, and in fact, Astrobot Rescue Mission won.
Yeah, this was a gimme.
Yeah, I mean, Moss maybe was the only other game.
Somewhat, but it's just like when you got the press involved in the judging and you look at the press reaction to this game, like it couldn't have been anything else.
Do you find it interesting that the Best VR Game of the Year was released for the least powerful HMD?
No.
No? Because Sony has the wherewithal to support its
Yeah.
HMD.
And like you've got people specifically making games to take advantage of it that are exclusive to it, and so it makes more. Yeah, and again, remember, like power doesn't really win you the generation in general.
In anything,
like it's
yeah.
better to have a real game going on, and this did it.
This is one of the few real games that came out this year that wasn't a port from Vive or Rift. Because Vive and Rift actually had a pretty decent first year and a half. A lot of those games are now slowly trickling over to PlayStation VR. But it's the stuff that's made first party that's ultimately...
Yeah, I think a lot of the VR stuff, certainly a lot of the VR stuff that stuck with me is either the room scale kind of like, wow, this is like unlike anything else, or it's the stuff that's like, this is something I played 100 times, but it's just got this little twist on it.
Yeah.
And that makes all the difference. And I mean, even that Chronos game, which was just like playing Resident Evil but with a VR perspective, like over the, I mean, you'd be able to look around corners by tilting your head and stuff. It's a game changer. It's just a little bit different, and you're like, wow, it's like nothing you've done. You know, I think you're at the point where, you know, you've been playing games for 40 years, and if you can do anything to me that makes me say, wow, I've never done that before, like you're already ahead of the game.
Yep, absolutely. Next up is Best Indie Game, and this is not Best Debut Indie Game.
No, this is just plain old indie game.
Yeah, which, whatever.
Veterans and newbies all mixed together.
And we both guessed this one as well. It's Celeste is the winner. Matt and I both guessed it because it was also a Game of the Year nominee.
It's the only Game of the Year nominee.
So pretty much
indie game. So it follows.
Yes, logic tells you that it was going to be Celeste. Next up, Best Narrative. And we definitely got this one right.
Yeah.
We both guessed Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Redemption 2 won. I'm okay with that. I could understand where there are a couple other games that probably could have been in the discussion and could have won.
I would lean harder into God of War.
God of War was good. Spider-Man was really good.
Spider-Man's good. I don't know if I put Spider-Man just writing-wise above Red Dead, because like Red Dead's thing is that it does character interaction and character work exceptionally well.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's a little thin on the narrative side because the nature of what they're doing in the game ends up with the first half of the game being mostly everybody talking about one more big score, Arthur,
Right.
one more big score, and then like the whole and you're waiting around for like Arthur to realize that Dutch doesn't know what the hell he's doing and like is kind of crazy, which is really obvious to anyone but Arthur for some reason.
Well,
It's a testament to the game that I can tell you specific things about every single character in that camp, which like I can't on a lot of other group games. You know, like they make a real effort to make sure that you have some kind of relationship or some kind of opinion of everybody who's in that camp, and that's not a small gang.
Yes, when there's that many people, that's no small feat.
But I still think that in terms of sort of total package, God of War tells a more interesting story with a more fully formed central relationship. And it's interesting to have to try and justify that, because to really justify why I like the story of God of War so much, I would have to talk about the last hour, and you don't want to do that because it's all spoiler, reveal territory. But suffice to say, taken in, once you're finished with the God of War story, and I look back on what they did with that, I am more and more impressed the more I think about it.
Well, the God of War story affected me more personally. But that's because there was the whole father and son dynamic, and obviously I've gone through some stuff recently in my life where
That counts, though.
Oh, it absolutely counts. I mean, it connected with me raw on a couple levels after what I've kind of gone through. So I feel like I'm a little biased probably towards
but that's storytelling. That's how you interact with story and characters. That matters and that counts, and it's all opinion in the first place. So it's valid to say that. But I think also, like, there's a more universal relationship at the heart of God of War than there is in Red Dead Redemption 2, where Red Dead Redemption 2 is more of a riff on sort of a particular genre of movie, in particular, Once Upon a Time in the West, and that kind of thing. And it's going to be interesting to see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Tarantino movie that's coming out, because while it isn't a sequel to any of Once Upon a Time in the West or Once Upon a Time in America, they're clearly taking inspiration from the kind of the tone, and I think it's going to feel a little bit like an old-time Hollywood take on how Red Dead Redemption 2 goes after things, because they're drawing from the same source material. But I just find what God of War did narratively to be a much more compelling thing, and I don't have that latent father thing going on, or I don't have a kid that I am not a gamer dad, but I just thought that worked better. But I can see why
the characters in God of War were far more likable, I believe, than the characters in Red Dead Redemption 2.
I don't think
they still had a dark side or an edge to them. But, I mean, pretty much everyone in Red Dead Redemption 2 is a scumbag.
Yeah, but
much everyone.
I mean, Rockstar's going for that. I mean, that's intentional.
Of course. Yeah.
And I'm a huge proponent of the idea that you do not need to like a character for them to be a good character.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I think actually Kratos was a victim of that for a long time, where everyone was like, "Oh, Kratos is a terrible character because I hate him because he's a bad person." I'm like, well, that doesn't make him a bad character.
Yeah.
Like, bad people can be good, well-written characters if that's what you're going for.
Sometimes bad people are the best characters.
Yeah. Well, then Arthur Morgan.
At least the most compelling.
Arthur Morgan's a bad person.
He's the anti-hero. Yeah.
Yeah. But he knows it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the story.
Very self-aware.
So
Absolutely.
that's fine.
I mean, that's why the game is called what it is.
Yep.
Maybe I just spoiled something, but
and it's also interesting, like Rockstar again. While as much as I think the narrative is, my problem with the narrative in Red Dead Redemption 2 is it doesn't have a whole lot to say about itself. Like it goes with these themes and these ideas and these plot points, and it doesn't have anything beyond that most of the time. But the character work is impeccable. It's some of the best ever done in the medium.
Maybe the best ever.
Yeah. And even in the way that this is a thing that games don't do much. I've noticed in that characters behave one way towards Arthur and differently towards each other, and you are around to see those different relationships, and you are allowed to kind of judge those characters based on how they treat others in comparison to you. That happens with the gang a lot, especially the woman that kind of runs the camp.
I think that's a fringe benefit of having so many players in the plot.
And she's so nasty to some of the other girls in the camp, but she's super polite to Arthur. Unless you don't wash your face. Right. Then she's pretty mean. But that kind of like dichotomy of these characters present different personalities or different faces to each other in comparison to the player is a thing that we don't really see often enough. I think that's because that's a complex thing to set up. So I think there's a lot of credit to be given there. Like it's a close race.
It's like I said, either one could have won, and I would have been totally fine with it. Yeah. So I totally get it. Next up, best game direction.
Very nebulous category.
Yeah, we were confused on what that even means. I'm still not really 100% sure on what it is.
I assume it means just sort of like wrangling the whole project into what it ends up becoming somehow. I mean, it's just harder to kind of get around. I mean, best game director, maybe. I mean,
I could get that.
Like, they don't want to say that, I guess, because it's like so many people sort of contribute to that pot.
When you say game direction, like, couldn't that be like a game that like tries to thwart like domestic violence or bullying? I mean, couldn't you look at it like the game's direction?
Yeah, but clearly they're not going for that.
I'm not sure though.
No, I am. They're going for game director, like creative director.
So the game with the best game director, basically.
Yeah, basically. You're basically nominating best director here, but that title is not a universal thing in games, so you can't really, because sometimes it's the game director, sometimes it's the lead producer, sometimes it's the creative director, sometimes it's a creative director and a game director, sometimes it's a gameplay director and a cinematics director and an overall director, producer, and maybe director's not even in anyone's title. You don't. Exactly. There's no way to tell. Like, so because like there's so many more cooks in the kitchen of a video game. I think they're just sort of going with this general term of like, you made the game well, kind of thing.
So you think it's it's a personification. It's not an award for the game itself. You think it's about the people?
I think it's a development sort of thing. I think it's like you had a lot of good ideas and you realized those ideas really well in the final product.
Gotcha.
Like I think this is the closest. Like God of War wins it. I think this is the closest you get.
Yeah, we hadn't told him that,
but you get this is the closest you get to giving an award directly to Cory Barlog.
Yeah. So we had both chosen Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out God of War won that category, and I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
I do agree.
Yeah.
It's also nice that it went to a game that had the game director there to accept it. Because that
may
would
or
not
may
have been
not
the case.
have had something to do with what
Would not have been the case with Rockstar.
I can neither confirm.
I don't know who that
deny.
guy who came up to accept the.
I thought he was just like a Take-Two exec.
Well, he talked in the first person about everyone who worked on this game, and we all worked on this.
Well,
I mean,
he's
who
an exec.
knows what that means?
He thinks he's in with the crew.
True.
They always do.
So I don't know who that was, but I was surprised anyone was there to get up and
Yeah,
accept
because usually Rockstar and Take-Two
Yeah.
don't show up for stuff like this at all. Next up, Best Ongoing Game, which is basically
It's also weird that like they announced that God of War won the action and adventure category as Cory Barlog was getting up from his seat to accept the game direction award.
Yeah.
They just like quicken like the VO girl just says like,
We'll
oh,
talk
it
about
also
the
won
award.
this, and it's just like, oh, okay.
We'll talk about all that stuff in just a second. We're almost done with this. Best Ongoing Game, basically Best Game as a Service. We
want to give an award to Fortnite.
And we both chose Fortnite, and Fortnite did win. Could you make an argument for another game?
I would have given it to No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Because they have turned
That's
that
not a
game
bad
around
call.
in a way that like you just cannot fucking imagine.
That's not a bad call at all.
But Fortnite is just the juggernaut of pop culture right now. So I mean, this category exists to give Fortnite another award.
Pretty much.
Frankly.
And then last but certainly not least, Game of the Year. Matt and I both swore it would be Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that was based on the fact that it's got perfect 10s pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and the hype is still there for that.
Yeah,
The game's only a month old. Like, we're not at that point where like you get like 3 months out and everyone can kind of like calm down and look. It's like, oh well, this wasn't really the best thing I ever played, but it was good at the time.
Yeah.
And God of War was so old. The other games are going back to the early part of the year. I just didn't think. I thought Red Dead Redemption 2 was going to sweep it, frankly, because it's so. The praise around it is so effusive and surreal almost.
It really
so,
is, yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised.
I'm wondering how much the fan vote played into that, and
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to keep an eye on how many Game of the Year awards God of War versus Red Dead Redemption 2 win from the
someone will
press
do that
outlets.
for you. I guarantee.
Yeah,
it.
I know. Because at some point, I'm looking like, is this going to reflect what the actual Game of the Year awards from the various outlets are? Because if it does, great, somebody woke up.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it just, I didn't see this coming at all from the kind of the generally taking the temperature of the discourse around Red Dead Redemption 2 right now.
Well, to be fair, pretty much every award that we did not predict and we did not discuss right now was won by Red Dead Redemption 2. So I bet you if you go and count up the game that won the most awards, I can almost guarantee you it's Red Dead.
Yeah, I think that's right. But like the big ones, the
ones that really matter, yeah.
the ones they actually presented on camera for a large amount of time was this, and it's good. I mean, good that God of War won because you got a great moment with the whole team going up and.
Yep.
Christopher Judge and the boy, like he picked him up and gave him a big hug, and everybody was super happy, and it was great. It was a great way to end the show.
It was.
It's better than just getting that Take-Two guy back up there to be like, hey, awesome, give us more money on Red Dead Online.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Let's start talking about that a little bit. Let's talk about the awards themselves, how they were handled inside the show, which awards were actually shown and which ones weren't. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about how all that went down?
I feel like it's a little embarrassing to kind of take a bunch of these awards and just sort of like have Jeff stand there and like read them off like a list, because if you don't have room for them in the show, don't put them in the show. Like either do it upright. I know like the point is the announcements and the premieres and stuff, but like you gotta get your categories down to the point that it doesn't feel like you're doing this weird rush through thing. I don't mind the thing they did in the pre-show where like. It's weird they gave Best RPG during the pre-show, but like when Jeff sort of stood there and just barreled through all the esports stuff. I'm like, good. That's exactly how you should do that. That's exactly what the pre-show is for, is getting through all the stuff that you should treat the pre-show the way, like, the Oscars treat the technical awards. It happens a week earlier.
Right.
It doesn't even get televised. They mention it once during the telecast. Oh yeah, we did this thing.
Variety writes an article about it.
Yeah, it's like, fine. I mean, the point is to get all those esports people in the building for that show and tweeting about it and getting their audience to watch this.
Yeah.
I get it. But if all you're going to do is do that quick, the show hasn't even started yet, we're just going to run all this stuff down immediately thing, like, put the other stuff you don't care about in that too. Because there's a point during the main show where he just sort of went through a few, like, random little, like, technical award things or whatever, and I was just like, well, there's no reason for this. Like, it feels like you made a mistake in the runtime, and like no other award shows do that. Plan your show out or make it 3 hours. Like, at that point,
it was 3 hours.
It was almost 3 hours. It wasn't.
Holy crap!
But like
a long show.
Well, yeah, because like you gotta get all those trailers in.
How long are the Oscars?
Oscars can be 3 hours. They vary.
Because here's the other thing that he did is he had like TV commercials.
Yeah.
That he was selling to the publishers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it.
It is.
Like, it's better than having the Schick Razor guy.
Well, here's the thing is you make all the money.
Right.
It's like, why let YouTube sell ads against your content when you can sell them?
Yeah.
And you don't get that sliver of the money that you get dealing with YouTube.
Oh boy, there were a lot of PUBG commercials.
Yeah. I wonder how...
They're trying.
It's interesting to consider, though, when you think about it, how the considerations worked for that. Because YouTube couldn't have been happy that the Game Awards is using its platform as its main broadcast platform, but embedding ads inside the broadcast that YouTube has no control over and makes no money off of.
It's not like YouTube's the only one streaming it. Like, that's not, Twitch is also doing it. It was on Mixer. Like, YouTube doesn't have any control over that. Sorry. Like, screw them.
I just found it interesting. It's because you don't see that a lot. Like, you'll see it like on some YouTube videos. They'll be like, hey, my sponsor is whatever. Mm-hmm. Go to this place and learn how to build websites or whatever crap sponsors that a lot of people get.
Well, to Jeff's credit, I think the show is too big for YouTube to really ignore at this point.
Yeah.
So,
he's holding the cards now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So a big complaint from the last several years was there just weren't enough awards given out on the show. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that was improved this year? Do you feel like they struck the right balance?
I think it felt improved. There's still a little ways to go. I don't think you should do the thing where he stands there and lists a bunch of stuff. I think every award given out in the main show should be
an event like this.
Someone should come out, someone should present the nominees, someone should read a winner, and somebody comes up and says something, gives a thank you speech. Like that is an award presentation. You don't just cut up to the host and be like, oh, by the way, this one. Okay, let's get back to the thing. Like, that's just weird.
Do other award shows not have like that moment where they just have like a credit roll that has awards that they don't give out on the show?
No, I've never seen that.
I thought they did.
I've never seen that. I mean, maybe the Tonys do. I haven't watched those in 20 years. But
Nobody watches the Tonys.
I've never seen that before in a major award show.
Okay.
That's a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
It makes it look like you couldn't cram all your awards in. And here's the thing. It's kind of a plausible deniability thing. Like, we all know that the awards are not the point of this. The point is to sell commercial time and get us to watch all these premieres and announcements.
Yeah.
But when you just sit there and read off the list of awards, you make that real obvious. Like, you kind of blow the kayfabe, you know?
It's interesting, too. I wonder how Jeff finagled it so that... Because he ultimately gets to choose. He's like, okay, this trailer is in the show because I want it in the show, but this trailer is going to be a quote-unquote commercial.
Right.
So there's got to be some interesting discussions going on behind the scenes with these publishers where Jeff's like, well, we're not going to run it in the show, but if you want to pay us to run it as our commercial breaks...
Well, the commercials were not anything we hadn't seen before.
There was a couple new trailers.
I didn't see anything like that in that.
No, the PUBG Winter thing was the first time it had been shown.
Yeah, but they introduced that. He introduced the
because
Winter one.
That was the thing, though. I could never figure out whether something was a commercial or not because...
I didn't have a problem. They always do the headers before. The Winter trailer was definitely introduced, but then they did like 3 more PUBG commercials that were not that trailer, that were just straight up commercials for PUBG.
Right. That's why it was confusing to me. It's
Yeah.
like, and so how did he decide, like, well, this one will run for free, but these other ones you got to pay for?
Well, because the winter trailer is the new map.
Some editorial value to it. Yeah.
It is a premiere of that, whereas the other stuff is just ads to play the game. Please play our game. Remember us? Like, it was like,
yeah.
You know, it's. I didn't have any trouble telling the difference between the commercial breaks and the main trailers. Like, I am happy they got rid of the world premiere guy.
Yeah.
The meme is fun, but he took.
The graphics were still there.
He clearly, the graphics there, but you don't have kind of the bombastic thing. He took a lot of the criticism of the last year's show on board and made a better show out of it, I think.
Yeah.
There weren't really any embarrassing moments in this one, which is like huge progress.
What about this? What about showing and having a big moment on stage for best sports and racing game, but then leaving out a lot of other categories that are seemingly much more important and bigger?
I don't know. The sports and racing game thing seemed to.
And look, I love Forza Horizon 4. Don't get me wrong, but
the sports and racing game thing was just there to let Ed Boon do the Mortal Kombat review. Frankly, I mean that's what that was.
Yeah.
It was just like which category can we do where like an interruption with a Mortal Kombat thing makes people go, oh, Mortal Kombat, instead of like, hey, where's that reward? You know, like you had to pick one that people weren't going to be upset that got preempted, and I think sports and racing was a pretty good pick for that. And it also was funny because we were like, why is Ed Boon presenting the award for sports and racing? That's weird. No, I thought that was okay in terms of like the fact that like sports and racing.
We had mentioned how RPG was given out in the pre-show.
Yeah. But like sports, I don't think sports and racing shouldn't be in there.
Yeah. You just think RPG should be in as well.
RPG should be in there, and if there's other I don't remember which categories Jeff just sort of did the list of up there, but I think that either put those in the pre-show as a part of a list or don't mention them in the main show. I also think action adventure should have been given out.
Absolutely,
as its own thing. That's a weird thing to do. Like you don't do that. You don't give best editing to a movie and say, oh, by the way, this all as they're coming up. Oh, this they also won best art direction.
Yeah,
like it's not a thing. Like
instead they'll say something like, this is their first Oscar. Right. They won blah 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 back in. And they don't do that on this.
Well, no, because there haven't been enough.
There have though.
Yeah, but like not for repeat customers. Like games don't come out often enough for that. But I think in the next like 2 or 3 years, you are going to be able to start doing that.
Yeah.
Like when God of War 2 or whatever they call the next God of War wins a bunch of stuff, when Cory Barlog's coming up, the announcer will be able to say like, "This is Cory Barlog's second win for." Well, they won't because you don't give it to individuals here. But this is God of War's Sony Santa Monica's second win for best game direction.
I feel like they could have done some of that stuff already.
I don't think there have been any real repeats yet.
You think as far as publishers, maybe?
Who gives a shit about publishers?
Nobody.
It was nice they gathered the 3 big guys up front, though.
Yep. So they kicked the whole thing off with Reggie,
Sean, and Phil. I didn't realize.
How do you feel about that?
That was fun. I mean, I did like that.
Sam, I think we have a clip of that somewhere.
It was, it's nice to see them all up there. It's also sort of, it's like, wow, Reggie's a large man. Like he's a tall dude. He's so tall. He just dwarfs those other. You're like Nintendo's gonna win because Reggie could just take their faces off with a swipe of his huge paw.
Yeah.
But like, it was.
This moment didn't hit as hard for me as I think Jeff had hoped it was going to.
No, well, because there was nothing of substance in it. But it was nice to see sort of this
united front.
Sort of this thing of like, hey, we're all here to make good games and knock the console wars crap off a little bit. The one thing that I did think was funny was the main Twitter reaction seemed to be like, "Where's crossplay?" Some people seem to think that this was going to be a big crossplay announcement.
No, I thought it was too.
And
I thought it was not an announcement. I thought it was going to be a declaration. So when they first came out, I was really excited because I'm like, Jeff wouldn't bring these guys out unless they have something important to say. And so I thought they were all going to come out and they were all going to say, hey, we are making a pledge right now that from this day forward, any game that appears on our platform that isn't first party, we are totally okay with people playing together on other platforms. But that's not really what happened.
No, it was just to see
it was a stunt.
Those 3 guys have never been together on stage before, and that's cool. Like I like the message, but it doesn't mean anything. And then I did think it was funny that like Reggie and Phil did like interviews afterwards, and Sean just was like, "We'll see you next year."
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing. Sony is running so silent right now; it's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, I thought it was an interesting moment, but it lacked impact because there was really no consequence for it at all. There was no announcement made. It's just like, hey, we all like games and you like games.
Also, like, if anyone, by the way, if you're still trying to argue that this show is supposed to be for casual people, bullshit.
None of them
because
know who any
none
of these
of them
guys
know who
are.
those 3 people are.
I have no
like,
clue.
there's no way in hell you bring that up. Do that first
Yeah.
if you're trying to appeal to people that don't know video games by heart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good point. It's absolutely a really good point. Okay, let's move on.
And credit to Jeff for, years ago he wouldn't have done that because the first thing would have been like another Imagine Dragons act or something. Like the show finally seems to have kind of accepted who its audience is and is going to do a show for them. And I think they more or less pull that off.
Let's start talking about all the announcements because let's be honest, that's why people really watch the Game Awards.
Yeah.
And Jeff had said before the show that there were at least 10 new game announcements. He definitely hit that number and then some.
Felt about right.
I think he did way more than that because this list that I have here are just the really big ones that I wanted to discuss. So I probably left out another 10 games that were in the show. So let's just kick things off with the first real big surprise, which was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3: The Black Order, a Switch exclusive. We've learned today that this game is being built by Team Ninja.
That was yesterday.
Yesterday?
Jeff tweeted about it. Team Ninja was the one making it during the show, like literally during the show.
I didn't see it until today.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that during the show when in the chat rooms I was in.
So Team Ninja is making this game. I can't say that I see it.
No, I mean, whatever. Maybe it'll be more obvious once you get your hands on it. I'll
tell you what's obvious. What's obvious is that it's a Switch exclusive when you look at the footage of the game.
I mean, when it was rolling, as soon as they showed X-Men, I was like, oh, this must be Ultimate Alliance 3 because there were rumors about Ultimate Alliance being resurrected at some point. But then I was like, is this a mobile game? Because I thought
it looks like
it looked a little like a mobile game, and then it was like Switch. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's cool. Like, I'll play it for sure.
It makes me a little nervous that Team Ninja is making a game like this.
Yeah.
Not only just the IP being a Western IP, but the genre. This isn't exactly. I mean, it did what? I guess it's done like a hack and slash RPG.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they can bring a little more nuance to this sort of thing. I mean, the other 2 games, I know they have a good reputation and such, but I bought the Xbox One, like the update versions they did a while ago, and those games haven't aged well at all. Like they're not that, they're long and meandering and nothing really happens and they're just sort of boring. And I liked them a lot back in the day, but like you gotta have something more going on in this one. Team Ninja can maybe bring that. Also, like Team Ninja already made Other M, so like they're already pretty low on the totem pole for my rankings at this point. They are not the company that made Ninja Gaiden anymore.
Don't you find it interesting though that Nintendo's publishing this game? And Nintendo basically just was like, hey, Team Ninja, we'll give you a big boatload of money. We'll pay for the license. Will you make this game? Yes. Okay, let's do it. Usually games like this come from third-party publishers. Like, I don't even know who holds the license for this at this point.
What, Ultimate Alliance?
Yeah.
Marvel.
Only Marvel.
I would think.
Who published the other games? Was it Warner
Activision.
Brothers? Activision. So you would think that Nintendo would have to work with Activision in some way.
They might have. I don't know. Nintendo clearly threw a lot of money at this to have an exclusive that was turning some heads.
Yeah.
So, and I think they have. I think they've succeeded there. Because clearly they've been doing a similar thing with Bethesda, and that's not really paying dividends. But if there's one thing that's going to be hot next year, it's going to be Marvel in the wake of Avengers Endgame, which we just learned the title of this morning.
Yeah, trailer just came out today, the teaser.
So, the timing's good. Timing's real good, and like doubly so because now people are talking about the Avengers, and if you're looking for someone's like, oh, Marvel video game, this is what's going to pop up. So, like, good job. I think this is going to be a win for them, frankly.
Absolutely. Huge win for Nintendo. Very smart. If you can't get the third parties to play ball, create your own.
Yeah, go do it
create
yourself.
Your own field.
Absolutely.
It's very smart.
Here's the hottest license in pretty much anything right now. So good call.
Yep.
I think Nintendo. Already 2019 is looking better for Nintendo in terms of the lineup.
Absolutely. Next up, Far Cry New Dawn. I've not been able to figure out, though, if this is a full game.
Yeah.
It is. So it's it's the next
It's like
full-on legit Far. It's like Far.
No, it's like Blood Dragon and Primal.
Okay.
They're reusing the map, and they're doing a whole new game based on kind of an asset reuse flip thing.
It's a direct sequel to
Yes.
Far Cry 5.
For the first time.
And it's hard to explain to you what this game is about without spoiling the end of Far Cry. I feel like they kind of did.
Yeah, they straight up said it. And
yeah, they did. That's right, they did say
it. And the guy introduced it, it's like, yeah, at the end of Far Cry 5, a bunch of nukes fall. And,
yeah, that's right.
And this is what happens.
Yeah, so I guess I shouldn't feel bad talking about it.
This takes place 20 years after the end of Far Cry 5, and clearly some shit has gone down.
There was a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, there's mutants everywhere.
Spoiler! That's what happens at the end of Far Cry.
Mutants everywhere. There's like, raiders. It's basically Mad Max in the Far Cry universe.
What it really is, though, is it's Mad Max crossed with The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Because you have these encampments where people are growing gardens and trying to get back on their feet after an apocalypse, and you can tell already that there's like this territorial thing. It's just like
I feel
the
like
survivors with Negan and...
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be sort of I feel like we're going to get sick of this kind of concept by the end of next year, because you've got this...
The territory thing?
Sort of the post-apocalyptic bands and settlements and territories and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, don't you think like maybe there's some parallels in terms of just even art direction between there's Days Gone, there's Dying Light 2, there's Rage 2, there's all, there's shared elements through all of these
The world has
things.
ended, let's put it back together.
The world's ended, let's put it back together, but let's blow up some cars while we're doing it. Let's do some, let's put on some crazy paint and do some crazy, our camouflage outfits will integrate street art in it and all this. I can see that this is whatever this trend is. It's all about to hit in 2019, and I'm cool with that because I like the idea.
Yeah.
Taming some wild boars. That's not a thing that ever happens, but okay.
Also, apparently, after the bomb drops, everyone loves Neon and Dayglow.
Yeah, well, so that retrofuturism thing is getting real big. And
this is the most colorful post-apocalyptic game I've ever seen.
I don't agree with that because Rage 2.
Oh, right.
Rage 2 got its trailer as well, and Rage 2
we'll
is using very similar color scheme.
But
frankly.
These two games look very similar.
Oh yeah, they're not. I mean, even changing the eye colors of people and changing the coats of the animals. Clearly, the nuclear radiation has mostly just made everything very festive.
Yeah. Next up, Hades. I don't even.
By the way, New Dawn coming up February 15th.
Yeah, February 15th.
Crazy turnaround time.
Yeah, so you can tell that they have a dual studio program there, where one studio makes it while the other...
I mean, that's pretty much how Primal worked, too.
Yeah.
So it seems like this is definitely how Far Cry works now.
Primal was great.
You get a numbered one, and then a year later you get the weird
spin-off,
one. The weird spin-off without a number that reuses the map.
Yep.
So, and I'm totally down with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with it too because their games are great.
Yep.
Next up, Hades. Hades is the next game from Supergiant.
Yeah, I gotta say,
Bastion and Transistor.
And Pyre, which is the only Supergiant game I like.
Which is weird because it's not that weird because it is their most different game.
Yeah.
Pyre, if you guys remember, was that basketball
it's the
hockey / soccer.
The dystopian fantasy basketball game.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. They appear to be going back to their usual design with this.
Yeah, this is like a roguelite sort of. I will say to Supergiant's credit, I knew this was Supergiant's game the instant I saw the first shot.
I
recognized the art style immediately.
And then as soon as the voiceover started.
Yeah.
So it appears this is also going back to their style where they have a narrator who narrates the entire time you play the game. And this is, as Matt said, like a roguelite, action RPG, isometric. Again, staying in their art style that they have developed over 3 or 4 games now. I will say that I'm a little less excited for this after Supergiant's last game. I know you liked it a lot. I was not a huge fan of it.
Well, by the same token, I'm less excited about this because it's going back to what they usually do, and I haven't liked any of those.
That's a good point. You didn't like Transistor, huh?
Not that much. I liked it better than Bastion.
Yeah.
But it still didn't really do anything for me. Not the way Pyre did. Pyre, I mean, I'm not saying the gameplay of Pyre was amazing or anything, but it captured my imagination in a way that the other two games didn't.
Yeah. Because really, the first 2 games, all they had going for them, well, I won't go that far. They're pretty good games. But the thing that was most striking about them was the voiceover.
Right.
That was the one element of those games where you're like, okay, no other game's really doing this.
Yeah, I played Bastion longer than I wanted to because I liked listening to the VO.
Yeah.
But Yeah, just as soon as those rubies flash, I'm like, oh, it's Supergiant. I knew it. Like it was. I mean, that's good that they've got a house
thing,
they got a house style that's instantly recognizable. That's a good deal.
Absolutely.
And this is available now. In
early access
on Epic.
That was another cool thing about the show in general is a lot of the announcements were for things that are like, hey, it's live now, or it's coming in like 2 months. And
yeah, there was a fair amount of shadow dropping, I guess.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of like,
stuff.
hey, here's this game that you're probably not going to play for another 4 years. There was no Death Stranding.
No, that was
no Kojima whatsoever. That was pretty odd. Although he still mentioned him.
Yeah, well, they're taking a year off.
They're taking a break.
Spending some time apart.
Yeah. Next up, Ancestors, The Humankind Odyssey. I'm sure a lot of people saw this game and was like, what the hell is that? And who's Patrice Désilets? And, like, of course, we all know who he is. He's the creator of Assassin's Creed. He's been working on this game with his own studio for
forever.
Years now.
Yeah.
Years now.
This has been in his head for like over a decade.
And this is the first game footage we've seen of it. He put out a teaser trailer that was just basically a bunch of art and music. But this is the first time we're seeing how the game actually plays. And the game looks insane. Insane.
Yep.
You're basically playing through evolution.
Yes.
That's really what it comes down to.
The evolution of hominids.
Yes. And it looks like
we have not invented babysitting, clearly, yet. We're still taking our children to hunt the boars.
How do you feel about this game, Matt? You think anyone is going to buy this game?
Yeah.
I mean, we will. But, I mean, enough to turn a profit on the game?
Well, that's a fine question, but I think it depends more. I mean, we need to learn more about what it actually is doing, what you're doing in it.
I mean, it appears to be an open-world survival game where you play as the ancestors of man.
Yeah, variety of species of early hominids.
I just don't know how many times you can beat down an alligator with your hands and your fists before you're like, okay, now what?
Well, I don't know. But
I just wonder how they're going to flesh it out into a
Well, you've got the hunting,
you've
got survival, you've got various things you need to do. There's different environments. Once you hit the point where they start walking upright, you have a totally different environment in the African savanna of the time, and then you're up against kind of the big cats.
You get new tools as you go.
Invention. I mean, the tools and stuff would come very late in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going through millions of years, presumably you're working up to somewhere around 100,000 BC, which would be the rise of our actual species.
Yeah.
And then I presume the big finale will be wiping out the Neanderthals.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because that's basically what happened, apparently.
That's the final boss fight.
Yeah.
Killing the last Neanderthal.
Or maybe the big finale will be like leaving Africa, or spreading beyond.
Showing how.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. I'm interested in the game, and I love ideas like this. I love when studios spread their wings, stretch their legs, and try something different. However, if I were the financial backer of this studio, I probably would have nixed this project a long time ago.
Yeah, it feels a little vanity project-y.
Yeah, and he can do it because he's a millionaire many times over.
But I think I don't know. It's interesting to me.
It absolutely is interesting.
We'll see if it makes it. I mean, there's sort of a tradition of caveman games not making it to market. Like it may BC is of course the thing that everybody thinks of. I don't know. This looks like there's something here. It looks like it's far along enough that there's a variety of things, different environments, different creatures. So
I'm really excited for it. I'm just looking at the market, and I just don't know if it has a place.
I don't know. It depends how you play it. Depends how they go with it. I mean, you could frankly turn this into a pretty good horror game because it was scary to be.
Yeah, it was.
It was scary to be an early human ancestor. Like there were eagles, like you see, and there's eagles that could pick you up.
Yep.
Because you got to remember these guys are like 3 to 4 feet tall.
Yeah, they're
not as big
basically
as we
monkeys. Yeah, they're not upright walking human beings like we are now. So it's certainly an intriguing project. I just question its financial viability.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
We will. Or will we? Will it ever come
or
out?
we'll never see it again. I mean, one or the other.
It's possible.
Like that. What's that other one that what's his name? The Beyond Good and Evil guy. I forgot. The Rayman guy.
Oh, Michel Ancel.
Yeah, Ancel. What's that one with the eagle? You remember?
With the eagle.
He had a game with like an eagle where you're flying around and like like a forest and
It was
stuff.
called Eagle Flight, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Eagle Flight. It was shown the same year as Eagle Flight, which was confusing. But it wasn't a VR game. It was like a game with eagles.
Oh, no, you're right. He does have he has like a prehistoric game that he's been working on. Someone in chat will tell us, I bet. I can't.
Wild.
That's it, Wild, yeah. With the way they stylize that thing is weird too. It's like one of the letters is like uppercase for some odd reason. But you're right. Maybe this is the Neanderthal wave through video games. We'll see.
Primal started a trend.
Yeah. Next up is a game that had a pretty big presence there, and rightfully so. It's coming out pretty soon, and that is Anthem. Anthem's marketing cycle so far has been weird because I feel like up until this trailer, I really didn't have any idea what was going on. As far as the plot, the characters, the motivation, any of it.
I still kind of don't.
Yeah, it's a little vague, but you get to meet some of the main characters in the story in this trailer.
Yeah, but I think the main issue is like, and we've heard of them saying in interviews, and I think mentioned it earlier as well, like the idea of like that the kind of the focal thing on this planet or whatever happening is the anthem. They mention it a lot in the dialogue in the trailer about like, the anthem is the thing that powers it, whatever. And like I think the main error they might be making on this game is that anthem is not a strong word. Anthem, the vagueness of what anthem means in this is mostly annoying to me, and like there's nothing here that's capturing my imagination in terms of kind of the trappings of the plot. Like it just like there's an anthem. Is it a song? Like I assume there's like some kind of like it's a parallel to like a song that the world sings or something, like kind of an avatar-y sort of thing. And then you've got all these guys with power. It feels like they're throwing. It's almost like a Destiny thing. You're throwing together so many weird ideas from different genres, and I'm wondering what you're going to end up with. And I don't know if that's going to be good or not.
This trailer got me more excited for Anthem.
I mean, I am excited for Anthem because of, you throw me in an Iron Man suit and let me fly around and blow stuff up. You got my attention.
Yeah.
I remain a little apathetic about the story setting, which is unusual for a BioWare game for me. Like, I still don't quite feel like I have my head around what this is, or like whatever this is, whatever they're doing narratively here has not like clicked the switch in my head yet.
I feel like they humanized the game with this trailer.
They did do that a
Before
little
it was
bit. Like,
always creatures and robots, and now we're finally starting to see some human faces.
yeah, it is wise that they're sort of trying to push the idea that there are people in these suits, that the people in the suits are trying to defend these other people.
Yep.
Putting a face on because that was Destiny's big mistake.
Yep.
Was there was no human face on anything, like
ever
until until they sort of started to turn around in the later expansions on Destiny 1, I couldn't have told you the names of any of those speaking roles in Destiny ever.
I mean, the whole language of Destiny, the verbiage that it uses, to me is just awful. I mean, they can't literally remember what any of that stuff means.
Well, I mean, because everything's just sort of the tower, the light, and like you've even got a scene where the mysterious leader mystic guy is like, I'm sure I could tell you about all this stuff, but I won't. It's just like, well, screw you. So like I'm hoping, BioWare usually doesn't let me down narratively. Andromeda notwithstanding, I'm hoping they're all hands on deck on this game. So I hope that they get something solid out of it. I mean, it certainly didn't dissuade me from being interested in the game.
I am definitely more excited for the game after this trailer.
At this point, I'm just like, just give it to me.
Yeah. Well, it's almost here. I think it's in alpha right now too.
Yeah.
Next up, a game that ended up leaking beforehand, the Crash Team Racing Remaster.
Duh. Like that. There was no way this was not going to happen after that Crash collection sold what it did.
Yeah.
I had hoped.
Coming to all platforms as well. Not just PlayStation.
I had hoped that Crash. Well, yeah. Well, the other one came to all platforms, so not surprising. I had hoped that Crash could be left in the '90s with all the other terrible things about the '90s, but apparently that's not to be.
Well, this is a great kart racer, though. They could ruin it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like looking at Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah,
like I don't like
either. I don't like any of the characters in his universe. None of it. I don't like his whole universe.
To quote Loomis from Halloween 5, I prayed that he would burn in hell, but in my heart I knew that hell would not have him. So here we are with Crash Team Nitro Racing, whatever the fuck.
I'm actually excited for this. I love Crash Team Racing. The game looks like a different game now. I mean, this may be the most impressive remaster of them all.
Yeah, I mean, when they switch from the original footage to the new footage, you're like, wow,
holy crap!
They really did a job on it.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
That was great.
It's been a long time since Mario Kart 8. I'm due for a good kart racer.
I still don't own Mario Kart 8 for the Switch, so if I really get a kart racing bug in my head, I'm just gonna buy Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. But I have played the living tar out of Mario Kart 8 already, so I'm ready for something new.
Yeah, well, I'm never desperate enough to play a Crash Bandicoot game, so you have fun with that.
Fair enough. I'll jump on that grenade for you.
Bring on Uncharted kart racing.
Yeah. Let's see. Next, The Outer Worlds. This was probably, to me, the most intriguing premiere. As far as getting to see enough of it that you get an idea of what it actually is, and then knowing enough about the studio to know that you should be excited because they're the best at making these kinds of games. What's your opinion? Obsidian's brand new RPG franchise.
I mean, I'm into. Basically, it's the Fallout kind of.
These guys created
Fallout. So it's sort of the Fallout tone applied to like space a little bit. There's sort of that similar sort of anti-corporate, like, you know, the branding is ridiculous sort of thing, but like the real people have to like do the real work sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's sort of the same conceit from Fallout, the early Fallouts especially, where like you had sort of the 50s like atomic age, like ridiculous propaganda stuff.
I mean, if you look at this, it looks like Fallout.
Yeah, there's
like everything about it, like how it's set in this weird it's the 50s, but it's not the 50s thing, like.
Or at least taking from like kind of the 50s sci-fi idea of what like kind of the future
would look like. Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested. A lot of the people that made the Obsidian games as good as they were back in the day are not there anymore. And a Fallout.
Well, except for the guys that started Obsidian.
A lot of those guys are still gone. You know, like you can bring these other guys up who were there when Fallout started. But if Brian Fargo's not standing up there, that's not the guys who created Fallout.
No, you're right.
Not a complete team.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it looks cool. I like this little bit here where like you know they're like, oh, you got to make a choice, and then the player just shoots the one person. Like, oh no. No, you didn't have to shoot him. Like, I was like, that's
it's tongue in cheek, and it's funny and it's lighthearted. I don't feel like we don't get enough of games like that in this genre.
Yeah, and I like it. It kind of has almost the whimsical nature of the creatures. Almost has a Borderlands feel to it, but it doesn't use Borderlands' frankly played out art style, which I think is a plus.
Unlike Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah, well, it's cool. I mean, it's Obsidian. I'll play anything Obsidian makes, frankly. We actually saw a lot more of this than I thought we would. I was interested to note that apparently on the PC this is exclusive to the Epic Store.
Really? We'll talk about the Epic Store.
There's a lot of stuff
of
stuff announced last night is going to the Epic Store. So yeah, that is a subject for later in the show, but that was also a theme.
Yeah, it absolutely was. It almost seemed like it might have been co-sponsored by Epic in some way, shape, or form. I'm not going to throw any accusations out there, but it seemed like the Epic show in a lot of ways to me.
On a tangent on that, you see that because the game it's not on the list because it's not a premiere, but because it was like half like premieres of new games and half like existing games with new content. Was the thing of the night. Dauntless. I thought that was a Fortnite trailer.
Right.
Like it was just like, wow.
It's so blatantly.
Like, it looked like Fortnite does Monster Hunter.
One thing to keep in mind about this year's show is that a lot of the people who work at Epic were on the show team with Jeff Keighley on Game Trailers TV with Jeff Keighley. Daniel Kaiser works at Epic. Jeremy Hoffman works at Epic. Megan Rue works at Epic. All those people were on the very specific 5-person show team for Game Trailers TV. So, you know, they've worked with Jeff for 7-8 years. I could definitely see where there was some kind of wheeling and dealing going on there, which
but that's also
fine,
Jeff's specialty.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
that's how he got into this whole thing. Was the rest of us came up through journalism and PR. He went in through marketing.
No, you're right.
And that was in the days of G4, because he worked with G4 for several years. I know him, from doing all that. But after he went to Game Trailers, one of the most annoying things was we could always tell that when he got the exclusives because he went to the marketing people, not the PR people.
Right.
Because the marketing people call the shots.
Yep.
And so he would always get the good stuff because he knew those guys.
Yeah.
Which is just another example of, and of course, when we were G4, it was always like, rah, Jeff Keighley. But really, it's just like, yeah, Jeff Keighley played the fucking game better.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
There you go.
That's how you win.
You're only upset because we didn't think of it first.
Right. That's pretty typical for a lot of people. A lot of people get angry. They're like, why didn't I think of that? That's just how the world works.
If there were rules to how that was supposed to work, I never saw the rule book.
Nope. Because there aren't any. People just make them up as they go to suit their own situations and perspectives. That's the way it goes. Next up, Dragon Age 4. Although I don't know if it's actually going to be called Dragon Age 4.
No, it has some other name, I think.
Yeah, it has like some kind of the wolf something.
Oh, the Dreadwolf Rises was the hashtag,
I think that's the subtitle. I don't
know. I heard it was
Dragon Age.
It'll be Dragon Age something.
Whatever.
Yeah, Dreadwolf maybe. I don't know. It'll be Dragon Age something.
But all we got was this very innocuous teaser trailer.
I actually knew what this was when it pulled out and I saw the little guy there, because that is Dragon Age's art style for the kind of the storytelling mosaic thing. But the word is that this game is 4 years out.
Yeah.
Like way out.
I know. It's surprising that they would even put this in the show.
I don't think it's that surprising because I think it's wise to sort of throw the bone.
Well, when you're BioWare right now and you're kind of on the ropes.
Because there is sort of the thing of like the Dragon Age fan base has been getting more and more antsy.
It's been like, 4 years? 5 years?
5 years.
Yeah.
It was 2013, I think, was Inquisition.
Yeah.
And Inquisition sold really well, so the fact that there hasn't been a follow-up is weird. And everybody's sort of nervous about
EA could use a hit.
They could, but everybody's nervous about Andromeda. Did Andromeda kill the single-player BioWare RPG?
Yeah.
And you could make the argument that you don't want to kind of mix your messages when you're in the run-up to Anthem's release in February, but I think it's wise, considering BioWare's pedigree, for them to kind of be like, yeah, this is still there. Like, it's still coming. Like, also, we saw BlizzCon and we know we need to tell you that this is going to happen. Just everybody chill. Like, everybody relax.
It's the BlizzCon effect.
So,
unfortunately, hardly any information came with this.
No. And the word is that like they've got like a skeleton crew working on this thing while everybody else works on Anthem, which is probably how it should be.
Absolutely.
So,
after what happened with Andromeda.
But at the very least, I know several Dragon Age fans. I am not one of them, but
I enjoy Dragon Age games. They're not my favorite.
I hated Dragon Age 1. I know that's the weird one because everyone thinks Dragon Age 1 is the good one, but I thought it was boring, archaic, and just awful from top to bottom. And I actually liked Dragon Age 2 for what they're doing. I didn't like that there was a lot of weird decisions in that. The reuse of the same 2 maps for all the dungeons was really not weird. A cool idea. But I liked what they were getting at with it, and Dragon Age 3 was probably my favorite just because it was something different and kind of had the scope to it. And
Dragon Age is one of those games where I would never tackle them myself for review, so I'd always assign them to somebody else. And typically the way it is, when someone's reviewing a game, you walk around the office, you see them play it here or there, you overhear conversations among your team out on the floor, and then ultimately they hand in the review. And those games were always the games where I'd go to edit the review after experiencing everything I just talked about, and I'd be like, wait a minute, how are you giving this such a high score? Mm-hmm. And it was always a game where I had to talk to the editor and get them to explain to me how they were giving it as high a score as they were. I don't know why that franchise was always that way, but it seemed like while people were playing it and watching other people play it, they made fun of it the whole time or complained about it. But every time they would go to turn in the actual review text, it would be a high score. And I'd be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I mean, my response to that was very similar when the reviews would come in for those games, except my response was not from watching it. My response was from playing it, because I don't think they're very good games. Especially the first one, I just thought was a throwback in all the wrong ways to kind of how these games used to be made. And to the point that I remember... because I really didn't like the first one, and I was annoyed that the reviewer gave it a 5 out of 5, and there was nothing I could really do about it because I wasn't really involved in the editorial side of things at that point. But I remember I did go and do an interview for SWOTOR for Old Republic shortly after that, and I was interviewing one of the writers, and he turned out to be a writer who was also a writer on Dragon Age.
Yeah.
And he's like, he was like, did you play? I'm like, yeah, I don't like it. Like everything's like, and like, and he was like, and I'm like, it just feels so, it feels like ancient. And he's like, oh, the reason is because most of the beginning of the game was built in the Neverwinter Nights 1 engine. We wrote it 8 years ago and never went back and revised it. Like the reason it feels ancient is because it was written before, before Mass Effect was even a thing. And so I'm like, okay, that explains a few things. So yeah, I don't like that game very much. And Dragon Age 2, I know, gets a lot of rightful shit for a lot of the weird corners they cut and how it all takes place in one city and it's like. But I like what they're after with Hawk, and I like what they did with it. And then Inquisition, I think, balanced everything pretty well. I don't like just continually hammering the button to throw fireballs at people, whatever. It's kind of dumb, but it felt the scope was there. It felt big. It was kind of, I know the hinterlands lasts too long, but it kind of was cool after finally realizing you could leave the hinterlands and realizing there was a whole other rest of the game out there. Like that was a cool sort of, I don't know what to really call that. It's that
a reveal.
It's sort of a reveal, or sort of that sort of like feeling where you suddenly realize like, oh, there's a lot more here.
Yeah,
there's
that's
more
not all this is.
Oh yeah, it's kind of the game content equivalent of like in a Bethesda game where you go through the tutorial dungeon and you come out and it shows you the world.
Right.
Like
yeah.
that. It's like that, but with like, game design.
Yeah.
It's like, so yeah, I like the Inquisition. I am mildly looking forward to 4, and I hope it doesn't go away if Anthem doesn't sell the requisite astronomical number of copies that EA demands it do.
Hopefully they're too far into development for that to happen.
Yeah, that'd be good. Too much sunk cost for Dragon Age 4 to be canceled, EA. You heard it here first. Don't do that.
Next up, The Pathless. This is an indie game that is created by the same studio that made Abzu. Mm-hmm. Did you ever get around to playing Abzu?
Oh, Abzu was one of my favorite games of that year.
Oh, okay.
I played Abzu 3 times, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay.
You know me, I like underwater stuff.
You do?
Like,
yeah, you absolutely
Abzu is fantastic, and anything those guys make, Giant Squid is the name of their company. I will play anything they make.
This looks like a pretty big departure from Abzu.
Yeah, although I do still see their style, their art style in it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's still there. But I love the lava effect on the creatures, and I like the way the character moves. Like, I'm into it. Done.
It
cool.
appears to be more traditional than their other releases.
Yeah, but yeah, like, and this is not even a question to me. Like, all you had to do was throw Giant Squid's logo up there. I'm like, yeah, sold, done.
Then you see the eagle companion.
Yeah, eagles are a big thing these days. I wonder what that is. That looks like some kind of like weird salamander thing, but it's also got 8 legs, like the legend, the mythical horse in Norse mythology.
I think trying to figure out what that is a fool's errand.
Maybe.
I don't think that's ever you'll never figure it out. I'm guessing they created that specifically for the game.
But I really
this
like
game
their
looks
look.
way more involved,
Yes.
way more epic, way more, and again, way more traditional.
Yeah, I mean, Abzu is almost like a meditation technique.
It is,
and this looks like more of a kind of standard.
Yeah, Abzu borders on not even being a game at times. It's almost more of an experience.
It's a walking simulator almost, except you don't walk.
Yeah, this looks like a complete departure from that, which is great.
Yeah, this is a lot more gameplay to it. It looks like, and I'm into it.
Yeah.
Like, and I love you can still see the pedigree of how everything moves. Like I don't know if any studio, certainly no studio on their budget level, does animal movement as well as these guys do. Like I don't know what black magic they've got working behind the scenes.
They're gluing ping pong balls on the
really
eagles,
good.
man.
Yeah, I don't know how else you do that.
And just setting them free into the mocap studio.
Gluing extra legs on horses and just
letting them go. All right, next up is Stranger Things 3, the game. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe there's even been a trailer released for Season 3 of the show yet.
No.
That's
This
odd.
is the first media of the 3rd season shown.
Yeah, in a video game. Fans are going to be poring over this footage trying to find any little nuggets or clues. Are you a fan of Stranger Things, Matt? Do you like the show?
Not really. I mean,
Wow.
I like it. I don't love it.
First season much better than the second.
Sorta. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
The second, once they started showing all the creatures and the monsters, I thought it started to get a little hokey.
I think there's some good stuff. I mean,
I love it. I love that show.
My problem with the show is that the Duffer Brothers, I like what they're after. The problem is that they didn't grow up in this time. They were
They're
born too young to do that. So they're sort of trying to capture something they didn't have first-hand experience with, and it shows. And also, it suffers from the Netflix show thing, where it's like you have like 3 episodes of story stretched out to 8 episodes all the time. Like the first season has a thing where they basically repeat. There's a plot point where Lucas doesn't trust Eleven, and Hopper wants to break in and find out what's going on in the lab. And Lucas has a big breakup with the friend group, and Hopper breaks into the lab and gets caught, so that they can then do the exact same 2 things for the last 2 episodes of the season. Like they completely repeat what happened. And my thing with this is, like with Stranger Things, is that I find it to be pretty much less than the sum of its parts. It's inspired by a whole bunch of stuff that I loved growing up, but I don't think it does any of the stuff it borrows from those things as well as the things it borrows from. So why would I just watch Goonies again?
Because I've already seen Goonies.
Yeah, well, I've already seen this,
and if they put out a new Goonies movie, I would watch that too.
Well, I've already seen this too. And it's just like, and season 2, I guess I would agree with you that season 1 is better in some ways, because season 2 tries to double down on the 80s nostalgia stuff and gets more things wrong. As a Ghostbusters fan who was around in 1984, no one cosplayed at Halloween. No. Like, that was not a thing. You dressed as Halloween things. You did not dress as your favorite movie characters. Right. Too much of the design and things they have and the stuff they're using for the Ghostbusters stuff is from the animated series, which came 2 years later. I realize that's nitpicky, but if you're going to do this thing, get it right.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole idea, right?
And they get to school and no one else but them has dressed in a Halloween costume. Bullshit. Yeah. Like I went to grammar school and middle school. All through
you don't have to explain it.
All through that, no one ever. There was never a time when Halloween costumes were only for babies. There was never a thing that maybe it is now. Maybe that's a thing that happens with maybe millennials are killing Halloween costumes or whatever. But no, when I was growing up at the same age as those kids, no, everybody dressed up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, you had the cheap costumes.
But it's just things like, so like when they go to the arcade, right? The opening shot of the arcade is a direct lift from the shot of the golf and stuff from Karate Kid. It's the exact same establishing shot with the spinning sun. Great. And like, if the only purpose of it is to make me go, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, that's stupid. Like, I need more than that.
Easter eggs, I guess.
I guess, but it's just like the whole show seems like that. And it's like,
it is, absolutely.
And I'm getting to the point where it's like, after season 2, you do not know anything more about the Upside Down and the creatures in there than you did when the show started.
That's true.
Like if this is the big thing they're basing the entire thing around, like you need to start developing that. Like I have no reason to give a shit about any of the plot of the story. I'm only here to watch these characters because I do like the characters, and it might be the best cast TV show of the last 10 years. But like, you need to start giving these people something to do.
So you're not excited about the game then?
I mean, I like the look of it. And I like that it actually has Hopper doing something for once. I think I can't remember that guy's name. David something is the actor who plays him.
Yeah, I was shocked that you don't like the show that much and you remembered all the cast names. I was like, wow, you know more about the show than I do, and I actually like it.
Well, it's what I do. I remember the names of everybody who's in movies I hate too. Yeah. Remind me we can do an hour-long thing on The Spirit.
I bet we could. Let's move on. Next, Mortal Kombat 11. Would you say this was the biggest thing in the entire show?
Probably. I mean, I think it was also the most expected thing in the show.
Was it?
I
mean, we've talked about how it's been due for months
I was
now.
100% sure this was coming. No question. I mean, Anthem we knew because they said it was coming.
Right.
But I was totally expecting this to be a thing, especially when they said Ed Boon was a presenter. Like, there's no other reason to do that.
Yeah, he wouldn't be there if he wasn't there to do something like that.
Mortal Kombat 11 is frankly a little overdue, and it is coming out quick. April 23rd. I mean, that's right around the corner in terms of release.
NetherRealm's no joke, man.
No.
It wasn't that long ago. They just wrapped up their last game.
Well, Injustice was last year.
Yeah,
they supported it for a while.
I mean, yeah. And now MK's pretty much done. It'll be probably 18 months later?
Yeah.
When it's all said and done?
I mean, it's not like you have to reinvent the wheel every time on these things. They've got kind of a house style. They've got they're doing Unreal still, I think.
Best blood in video games right here, man. Holy cow.
Mean, whoever their anatomist is, I hope they're paying them well.
Yeah, it looks like they've ditched the whole X-ray thing.
I don't think they have. I think they're just not showing it as part of this trailer. Because this trailer is not really gameplay. It's more, because you can see, that's an X-ray right there, what he did there.
Well, they show his face getting mashed earlier, and it's all in slow motion.
Yeah, but I think in the final game, they'll probably be an
X-ray.
You would still see the X-ray.
Interesting.
I just think they're using the X-ray moves, but just showing them as part of this trailer, part of this fight in this trailer, because this is a cutscene, not a gameplay.
Oh yeah. This is all like pre-rendered CG stuff.
And we'll see. Like, well, I'm sure they'll blow out more stuff about it in like January or February.
Well, they have to.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
They don't have a choice.
But it's interesting. This is. I was pretty sure this was coming, but this is pretty much the only Warner Brothers thing we got.
Yeah.
After weeks of people speculating that they're going to show Rocksteady's game,
and then Rocksteady said right before that it
WB
wasn't.
Montreal's game, or like something. It was just it was nothing.
All conjecture, and then we get MK11.
Yep.
What do you think of it?
Looks like Mortal
Based upon
Kombat.
what you've seen. Yeah,
I guess Raiden's evil now.
I don't see a hook in the game other than hey, it's probably prettier than the last
Scorpion's
one.
got hooks everywhere.
Does it
Come
need
here.
a hook anymore, really?
No, I mean it's Mortal Kombat.
I mean, the game we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Look,
it doesn't
Mortal
really have a hook
Kombat
either.
is one of the few fighting games where I'm actually interested to see what happens in the story next.
Yeah.
So I'm on board just to see the campaign. Frankly.
No, you're right, because
these
their
guys,
campaigns
these guys
are worth
do
playing.
the greatest campaigns in fighting games.
Absolutely.
Not
even
I realize
close.
that sounds like damning with faint praise, but like they do it up like crazy. I mean, Injustice 2's campaign mode was the best animated DC film since like 1998. I mean, they do a good job.
Sad.
Like I'm here for the production values, if nothing else.
Yeah. I just, again, this is just like a CG.
Yeah, it's
debut
just a
trailer
here
or
it's
whatever.
coming thing.
Yeah, it's like, hey, the game's coming. This is kind of what we envision it to have. But even with these, a lot of times they'll show off some new feature, even via CG, that the game is going to have, and I'm just not seeing anything.
Well, they did because the way they're pulling out the different weapons is an evolution of sort of the stance switching and the style switching thing. And Ed Boon apparently talked about that in some interviews after the show.
Oh, okay.
But they're going to go into it more when they do their next like content drop. Also, I'm interested in
Isn't January like they do a big blowout in January? I think. Yeah.
but I mean, I'm interested here also where like he kills Scorpion and then classic Scorpion shows
what the
up. What's
heck?
going on? Like what's up?
Some kind of a time
Maybe?
I
Or
don't even know.
There's so many different versions of all these characters. Like it could be anything. Could be timeline stuff. Could be because now he's a demon.
Yeah.
So was that guy he just killed not demon version and then he was reborn as the demon, or is it a different Scorpion? I don't know.
I love how gory this is, and there were probably 4 million preteens watching this show, waiting for Ninja to come on stage.
I was playing this series when I was 13. I turned out fine.
Me too.
I don't know who that is, though.
I don't either.
That looks new to me.
It's undoubtedly Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
I guess we can say that about it.
Funny thing, I looked up kind of like because Mortal Kombat 11, because they started out with 2 games ago. They kind of started over with just Mortal Kombat, and then
they called it X.
Then they did Mortal Kombat X, which
Yeah.
is really pun on 10.
Yeah.
And now they're Mortal Kombat 11. And I looked back because I was trying to remember. There's that stretch between like Mortal Kombat 4 and the reboot where I'm like,
What happened?
I just can't remember anything because it was all just garbage.
Yeah, I know.
And it was like, it was Deception and Deadly Alliance and Armageddon and that. What was the other one? And I couldn't.
I'm surprised you remembered that
I
many.
couldn't remember what Mortal Kombat 8 was, and I looked it up, and apparently Mortal Kombat 8 is Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe.
Oh, really?
Which isn't even canon. So
Interesting.
I don't know. I did not know that. I didn't
I
know
didn't
that
either.
was how they got to 9 because that's the only other game it could be. Who knew?
I would say it makes sense, but it doesn't.
Nope. The main thing I remember about that era is I would always get them for the Xbox, the original Xbox, because they look better on the Xbox.
Absolutely.
And they always had those weird. That was that period where all the Mortal Kombat games came in like the weird unfolding case. You remember that?
That's
Like,
right.
there was, like,
Yeah,
all
I
this
forgot
weird-
about that. Yeah.
Dead or Alive did that too. There was a DOA that had that.
I don't remember that. But anyway, MK11 coming, all platforms, including Switch,
Yeah.
which I was surprised by. Early next year.
Something for the preteens to have
you
it
go.
on. You got to do it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Frankly,
to see how that
fighting
audience-
games make a lot of sense on the Switch. Just in the the ability to play it anywhere with someone with the controllers or to like hook up with like direct connection
that's
somewhere.
true.
Like fighting games like even as someone who probably would never use them on a Switch that way, like I think it makes a lot of sense to do those on the Switch.
It does.
If you can cram them on there, go for it.
Yep. Next up, Psychonauts 2.
I was glad to see this.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything from this game, I don't think, since the last VGAs. I think last year was the last time we got they've been putting up a couple, like, literally shot off a screen, like, playtest videos.
Like, they've clearly been in process, but, like, they haven't done it.
This is really the first polished trailer.
Yeah,
of this
and frankly,
game.
I wasn't expecting even that this soon. Like, I think they're. I mean, I know they're on schedule, but like, I always assume Kickstarted stuff is gonna slip somehow.
Yeah. Well, it's Double Fine. Double Fine's pretty good about getting its projects done.
Yeah, and they know how this whole thing works now. In terms of Kickstarter and the scale of the project and how it takes. So, like, it looks good. I mean, I never thought we'd see a sequel to this game.
No.
I love the original Psychonauts.
How do you feel about the art style? Obviously, they've brought the same art style from the first game, but it's different now that everything is in high resolution and there are more polygons and.
Yeah, I think it looks. I mean, I like the way the old game looked, and I think they've done a pretty good job of bringing it forward. It has sort of that stop motion Tim Burton thing going on, and I'd prefer them do it like this than to like modify it to make it look more HD era or whatever. I think it looks fine.
It's a weird looking game.
It's a very weird looking game.
It's just weird.
But it's supposed
the art
to be.
style is weird. The character designs are weird.
That looks great. Like the the scale
when they
of it
actually
is,
show like the in-game stuff, it's like stunning.
Yeah.
It looks incredible. The art style, I don't know. I could definitely see it turning some people off, but
Yeah, I screw those people.
yeah,
I don't care.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No matter what, we're gonna get to play Psychonauts 2,
Yeah.
which is something I never thought I'd be able to say. So I don't even really care if it sells or not. I don't think we'll ever get a third one. Even before I play this, I can pretty much guarantee we'll never
Probably
get a
not.
third one. But I am very happy that we're
Unless
getting a
it
second.
sells enough to be profitable for the Fig backers and they decide they want to do it again.
I'd be really surprised if that happens. I just
don't know.
think
In the
people are
same
going
way
to
the
look
double-
at this game and be like, what the hell is this?
Psychonauts 2, motherfuckers.
We know what it is, but
We'll see what
most
they can
other
put out.
people
We'll see what they can put out. I mean, Psychonauts 1 is still one of the most entertaining, funniest games of all time. Like, it's just, I love everything in that game except the meat circus. The meat circus is not very good. But up until you get to the meat circus, it's incredible. The Milkman level is one of the best levels in gaming history.
Absolutely. Next up, Rage 2. We were comparing Rage 2 a little earlier to Far Cry New Dawn. And once you see this trailer, I think you'll understand why we're drawing the comparisons. It also has like a fascination with neon and day glow.
Yeah, the nuclear apocalypse may have wiped out. I guess this was actually a meteor hitting the Earth in Rage, but the apocalypse may have ended civilization, but it did not end colored smoke.
No.
We
There are lots of other
figured
colors.
out how to do that again real fast, apparently.
And apparently graffiti writing's still a thing
Yes,
after
and
the
force-
apocalypse.
Force powers? It looks like you're force pushing people in this game.
I don't want to be too hard on this game because I think this game looks flipping awesome. And in fact, I think this trailer makes this game look freaking awesome.
No, it looks real cool. I wish this had come out this past month rather than Fallout.
Yeah, absolutely. What a difference that would have been.
What a different Christmas Bethesda would be having.
Absolutely. What a different Christmas everybody would be having. But I'm really psyched for this game. And this is the best trailer for this game so far. It shows off tons of new elements of the gameplay, of the
I like that
open
it
world
zooms
design.
through the different areas of the map and shows you what's happening in all the different places. Like,
Yep. This trailer finally gave me a perspective on the gameplay loop and what it's going to be like to be living in this universe for 30 to 40 hours, which before this, it was kind of like...
Yeah. Also, I really love the... I've always had a thing, maybe it's just because I like Mask so much, but like the weapons coming out of cars and doing things is awesome.
Well, you also love
I
Transformers, so...
Yeah. They don't do that much though.
No.
Like, guns pop, but like I love like kind of the thing where the gun pops out of the thing and like the barrel like telescopes out and like 4 sights flip over. Like that
Almost
looks
like a
really
James
cool.
Bond type
Yeah, like
type
there's
thing.
kind of an Aston Martin thing going on there.
I think this game looks awesome.
Yeah, I'm super into this one.
Yeah, I am really, really excited for Rage 2. We don't have too much longer to wait. It's coming out mid next year, I believe.
Yeah, it was May something, I think. It says at the end of the trailer, I think.
Yeah, but I'm really excited for this game. I don't care what's up with Fallout 76. It's made by a completely different team.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a shame that a lot of people will pigeonhole Bethesda into this because of what happened with Fallout 76. There are some people now that are going to be like, oh, Bethesda sucks. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not how it works.
They're just a publisher on this one, folks.
Yeah, but it looks a lot better than Fallout 76.
Although this is Avalanche.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to Just Cause 4.
Yeah, we will, actually, in a little bit. And then last, and certainly not least, the last big reveal of the show was Joker from Persona 5 coming to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yeah, this one would never have called this a million
Never.
years.
Never in a million years would I
I even liked how they set it up where it looked like they interrupted the show and Jeff was like, "What's going on?" Like,
yeah.
good acting from Jeff, but it's like right on. I had no idea what this was when as this was going. I thought this was the announcement for like the Persona 4 Golden equivalent of 5, like the Persona 5 Red and Black edition or something like that.
Yeah.
But instead, no, they're going to Smash Brothers, which is freaking weird but cool.
Yeah, I mean, the art style of Joker doesn't really fit the rest of Smash Brothers.
You could say that about half the people in Smash Brothers.
Could you?
I mean, I don't think that a bunch of those, Pac-Man running around with the Inklings and
But Pac-Man, there's been like 3D renditions of Pac-Man. Like he had the corny cartoon.
3D rendition of this guy. I mean,
where?
In the game.
Yeah, but I mean, it's all cell shaded, so it looks flat.
It'll be fine.
I just wonder how it's gonna work, like with 3D visuals.
Man, you got Solid Snake standing next to Sonic the Hedgehog in that game. It doesn't matter. Like none of it matters. They don't care. It's fine. It'll look good.
I guess maybe a good thing to look at would be like the Game & Watch character.
Yeah, anything fits in Smash Brothers. I mean, that's sort of. I
mean, any character fits, but does any art style fit? And if it doesn't, how do you retrofit him so that he fits in with the game?
I think you just make him look like he looks.
Really?
Yeah, like why not? There's no consistent art style in Smash Brothers. It's just everything mashed together. You can play a match on a fucking Game Boy screen. Like it doesn't matter. Like it's a celebration of all things weird. All the Fire Emblem guys look like they look, and then all the Metal Gear guys look like they look, and then everybody's got all the Kirby people have like giant freaking eyeball. Imagine how terrifying King Dedede would be in person. His eyeball would be the size of your head. Like it doesn't matter. It's cartoons right up against realistic designs. It's fine. It'll be fine.
I don't know. I feel like they have found a style, because it's like if you think about the Fire Emblem characters, they were all 2D characters, but they created 3D versions of those characters for Smash Brothers.
Well, a couple of them, but that series has been 3D for a long time now. There have been 3D models of Fire Emblem characters since the GameCube. I mean, yeah.
Which GameCube game?
Radiant Dawn or Radiant whatever. There was the GameCube one, and then there was the Wii one. They were matched up together.
Oh right, that's
remember?
right.
I can't remember. One's Radiant Dawn and one's something else.
I remember now. I remember what you're talking about.
And like you could carry a save over. They cost like $200 now. No, it wasn't a huge. But like again, what I'm saying is like if you have Kirby characters standing next to Mario, who's standing next to Metal Gear, who's standing next to Castlevania, it's like they run the gamut. They can do whatever they want. Maybe they'll tone down the cell shading look for them a little bit, but like at the same time, it'd be kind of cool to see that running around in there. At least to be able to see the fucking character I was playing with.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in a little bit.
But like I did see it was interesting. It's also an interesting kind of example of how Smash Brothers isn't really what it used to be in terms of kind of concept, where like Smash Brothers used to be sort of like this celebration of Nintendo stuff, where like it was all these Nintendo things kind of smashed together to like sort of do this thing. And like even when they started bringing in guest characters, it was like, okay, well, I mean, Metal Gear started on NES.
It's an exception.
Well, Metal Gear was on Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like it started on the MSX computer, but it's identified, especially in the West, on NES. Mm-hmm. Sonic was a Nintendo system character by the time he appeared in there. Pac-Man had been on a ton of Pac-Man Versus and all this stuff was very integrated with Nintendo. But now we're sort of at the point where it's like, are you a major video game publisher and you have a character? Come on over.
Well, it's more like, do you have a major character that has a following?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what's going on here. And it's smart. Nintendo's trying to lasso all these disparate fan groups to bring them all under one banner.
But I've seen a lot of complaining that, like, well, if you're going to do Persona in Smash Brothers, why didn't you use Tokyo Mirage Sessions characters?
Because nobody knows.
And the answer to that is because Persona 5 sold 2.5 million copies and Tokyo Mirage Sessions sold like 225.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone even asked that.
But it's also like, if you're really dedicated to the idea that they should have a relation to Nintendo systems, why isn't everybody mad about Cloud?
Yeah.
Because Cloud is,
he's never been on a Nintendo platform.
He's been in there
but
for
they
2
love
games.
Cloud, man.
Everybody loves Cloud.
Yeah.
Cloud wins.
Yeah.
But it's like if you wanted to really stick to the kind of the original mission statement of Smash Brothers, you would pick someone from Final Fantasy 1 through 6 who were actually on Nintendo systems back in the day.
Yep.
We're already past that, and it's fine. Like whoever the hell you want to put. I mean, at this point, who cares?
It
like,
really doesn't matter.
Put Nathan Drake in there at this point. Who cares?
They should call it like Mashup Brothers instead of Smash Brothers.
Microsoft should troll Sony and just let them put Master Chief in.
Okay, so those are all the announcements, the games that were announced. Overall, how would you rate the announcements from this year's show?
Pretty good. I mean, a solid B.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were expecting something from Nintendo other than...
They were expecting Metroid Prime 4, which was silly
to
think that, I think. I mean,
I mean, it kind of should be ready to show at this point.
That game's a year out, if at best. So it doesn't surprise me that they're focusing on Smash Brothers, especially since Smash Brothers literally launched an hour
after the show.
If you're on the East Coast, it was already out when the show ended.
You know, when Reggie and Nintendo saw the date, they're like, "Oh, we're there." We will be there.
I mean, they were running Smash Brothers ads the whole time. The commercial breaks, it's like in a few hours, it's almost here. Everyone was each ad was specific to what time it was running.
And then Jeff mentioned it. Well, it's Smash coming out in a few hours.
And then like Reggie, and Reggie was interesting on stage with him, where they were talking. He's talking about like, why Joker? Where'd that come from? Yeah. He's like, all the characters in the character pass were trying to think. He said like.
We're trying to figure out how we can make as much money as possible,
right.
Jeff.
But they're kind of saying like he said something that like people were interpreting as like, all the characters in the character pass are going to be third party, new characters. And like, well, no, but what Reggie really said was he didn't say.
It sounded like that though.
It sounded the way he worded it, but what he was really saying was. We're thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Also because the first character in the character pass is a Nintendo character. So what are you talking about?
I would also bet that he has no idea who Joker is and has not played a minute.
That's also
of
possible.
Persona 5.
Entirely possible. It also makes me wonder if it means Persona 5 might get a Switch version.
It might. It runs on PS3. Why not?
Right.
Why not? That would be a huge win for Switch. So give a letter grade for the game announcements at this year's show.
I said B.
Oh, you said that. I missed it. Yeah, I think that's fair. There weren't really any like barn burner.
I'd have given it an A- if we'd gotten Metroid, but I didn't expect it.
If we had actually seen Dragon Age 4, I think I might have bumped it up to an A. But because it's just like, we could have made that teaser trailer and said, "Hey, this is Dragon Age." Seriously, we could have. It wasn't.
Be afraid of the wolves.
Yeah. It was the biggest name, but probably the least significant announcement. Mm-hmm. Really the biggest surprise was...
Marvel.
Yeah. Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah, I thought we might see some Marvel, but I didn't expect to be that.
Yeah. And Far Cry New Dawn was kind of leaked beforehand,
a little bit because it was leaked,
yeah. Because we had some screenshots and box art before the show even started.
It wasn't like, top level stuff, but a lot of it was a very pleasant surprise. I'm happy to see a new Supergiant game. I'm happy to see a new Giant Squid game. Happy to see, some of these other games pop up with new content. I'm not complaining about any of it really. It was a good lineup. It was, it's not like a big E3 press conference or anything, but it's December. It doesn't have to be.
Yep. All right, let's try to wrap this up pretty quickly here. Let's talk about the musical performances, which were a much bigger part of the show this year than they had been years prior. It makes sense because I think that was one of the most unanimously praised aspects of the last couple shows.
Well, the orchestral angle, definitely. That was the thing to
now he has harder. An orchestra. He has the Game Awards orchestra.
With Hans Zimmer.
Which are going to have nothing to do for the next 364 days.
Well, no, you just assemble.
I know, I'm joking, but
it has its own theme from Hans Zimmer, which I presume he dug out of a drawer somewhere. He's
probably. He's like, I made this back in 1988. He's like, how much will you pay for it?
Yeah, okay.
Deal.
I did like that they had Lena up there to do the Celeste music with the orchestra. That was cool.
Hey, Sam, it's the performances clip. There should be all the music performances.
Yeah, not Ninja with the worst Muppet.
Yeah. The budget Muppet. Although
I don't actually know what Pepe is from. I've never.
Is it even really
before.
A Muppet?
He's made by the Muppets.
Is he?
He's a Muppet.
Because I know Jeff said he's like, oh my gosh, I have a Muppet on my show.
He is a real Muppet, brand wise.
So let's talk about the music performances. Let's talk about this one.
This is Devil Trigger.
Yep, this is Devil Trigger.
Yeah,
for Devil May Cry 5.
Conveniently, this was when my food was delivered.
That is convenient, because it was a terrible performance.
Yeah, I'm not going to blame Jeff for that.
Oh, no.
But,
once you get the sound check, there's no turning back.
I mean, I don't like this song anyway.
No, I don't either. I mean, I don't know. If I were the head of the music performances for this show, I wouldn't have never booked a Devil May Cry performance in the first place.
Well, they're booking it because this song made a kind of a splash with the fan base. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, the song when it was premiered earlier this year was kind of a thing. People dug it, like it was, because it is along the lines of what Devil May Cry and what kind of the old Dante, brand styling was.
You want to know what I've discovered,
So
Matt?
booking this made a lot of sense to me. It's just not for me.
Here's what I've discovered over the last 20 years of my career. A lot of gamers have terrible taste in music.
Well, yes.
I'm not even kidding. Like, I've met a lot of people in my life, a lot of groups of people, and I have to admit that gamers may have the worst taste in music of any social clique I've ever hung around. Seriously. I don't know why, like, you play good music, they're like, that's terrible, and then they say, this is what you should like, and it's just garbage like this. This music is garbage.
I don't even have that strong a reaction to it.
Which may be the strongest opinion of all. The performance was okay. The girl sang off key a bunch of times. Whatever.
He wasn't very good either.
Yeah, it was just not.
The
very
first
good.
like 90 seconds were just like, oh god, like what's happening?
Yeah.
And they sort of found their feet at some point, but like I don't know.
It was bad.
Maybe they're not used to performing in front of an audience that big.
I mean, who are these people?
I have no idea.
I mean, they may not have been written in this song. I mean, they could just be like gig artists that they brought in to just play it. Like, I have no idea who these people are.
I don't know, and I don't care to find out.
Now, on the flip side, the Red Dead musical performance was like mind-melting, amazing, incredible. That is, when you were saying earlier about like the orchestral stuff or whatever, like, I think that really is the sweet spot. What they did with Red Dead, like bringing in like, there was like 30 musicians on stage for Red Dead or something. They played a medley of all the songs, not all the songs, but a lot of the songs from the game. They did a great job of choosing the songs that they decided to perform. They had this girl sing a song. They had a guy sing a song. It moved, it flowed. They didn't stay on one song too long. Their performances were impeccable.
And that's the guy who did the music.
Yep.
There.
The production, the way they produced it with the visuals and the lighting, the black and red motif, it was just all sublime.
Yeah, but also partly because you're working with what you're working with, and the Devil May Cry song is what it is,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
this song is what it is,
Yeah.
and there's a quality gap between the two.
Absolutely.
Frankly.
That helps. But I also felt like it was handled very, very well.
Yeah, this was good. I mean, I'm not a giant fan of doing big musical productions in award shows. It was always the stuff that we would ignore the Oscars when I was growing up watching the Oscars with my dad. Like that was the music would come on, be okay, go do something else for a while, come back. But like if you're gonna do it, like this is the way to do it. What they did with the Red Dead song, like take a good song take some good songs from the games of the year, and play them up, in a really nicely produced, version. And I think this pulls that off, and Devil Trigger did not.
Yep. And then later on, they did like an orchestral stuff for Smash Brothers. They did an orchestral thing for Anthem.
They did a bunch of orchestral stuff, and it all worked really well.
Do you think there was too much, maybe?
No, I think they were just about right.
Okay.
I think, especially because music is such an important thing with games, or has been in the past. I don't know about recently. But like, for half of gaming's existence, music was the only real way you had to get across an emotional point, because you had no dialogue and you had no real acting or facial acting. Yep. And so that's the reason all the music from those early 16-bit RPGs and stuff and the PlayStation era RPGs, like, why does everyone get so attached to the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack? Because that's the only thing that tells you how to feel in any of those scenes. Like there's no face on those characters. They don't even have fingers. But the music is telling you in conjunction with the text, like what you need, and you create that in your head, and that creates a much more powerful reaction than a half-assed vocal performance from an anime voice actor, frankly. So I think in a medium that is so reliant on music to set the tone, probably even more so than film or television, it makes a lot of sense to me to emphasize the music and to play it up in a very legitimate orchestral setting, because there is sort of a kick. There's a kick and a thrill of seeing these songs that are kind of from games, especially. I mean, maybe it applies more to older stuff that was on like 8 and 16-bit systems now. It's like, because Nintendo's been doing that forever, where they do like big orchestral concerts for their music, and it's cool to hear the Mario theme played by a giant orchestra.
Absolutely.
It's cool to hear the Zelda theme
That
done
went
up
to the
like
Zelda
epic like
Symphony.
that.
It was incredible. Yeah.
And so I think not only is the music of games an important element of games, but like this sort of treatment of them has a long and storied history in kind of fandom and sort of the presentation of gaming music. Just ask Tommy Tallarico. He's been doing it for like, how long has that show been running now? Like, he's been touring Video Games Live for like
Video Games Live
15 years or
15
something.
years now, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the hunger is there. It's part of the being a fan. It's part of being part of the medium. And I think doubling down on this orchestral thing is exactly the right move. And I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. I thought it all worked.
Agree 1,000,000%. All right, let's wrap it up. What's your overall impressions of the show? Anything you would like to see changed?
Well, I would like to, if you're going to do an award presentation during the main show, present the award. Don't just stand up there and give it a list. Give a list of things. Beyond that, I think it's taken several years, but I think Jeff has a freaking show on his hands.
He freaking nailed it. Yeah,
I think
it was amazing.
I
It was
think
really, really
There's
good.
not a single part of, there's at least one or two things in all the other previous game awards where I've just kind of put my head down and thought, oh my God.
Made you angry about
Made
it.
me angry
Yeah.
or embarrassed, like empathetically embarrassed or whatever like that. Nothing like that in this one, frankly. I mean,
show. Absolutely.
Really good. Like, are we going to letter grade the thing?
Sure.
Or what?
I think I give it an A.
I give it an A-. Yeah, I think
Amazing.
Solid.
Bravo, Jeff Keighley. Great job, brother. Really
I mean,
good
it's
work.
still basically a commercial, but it all.
So what?
It all.
It's a commercial I want to watch.
Right, but like I think this is the first time I felt like the awards side of things, like I said about plausible deniability. It's the first time I felt like I could watch the award parts and feel like they were serious and kind of
respectful,
presented respectfully enough to feel like they were holding their own against the content of the show that people actually were tuning in to see, which is the trailers and premieres. But like, it felt like it worked. It felt
everything flowed. It was a 3-hour show that did not feel like 3 hours. There was one section that dragged a little bit, but so what? Like,
also, I cannot emphasize enough how much it helps the show when the attendees and the people winning the awards do show up dressed for it and not like they're going to go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Like the fact that everybody was getting up in suits and good
they're
outfits
respectful
and
of the
stuff.
show. They're respectful of the industry. All of it.
Like that matters. Like
it
does,
absolutely.
in terms of visual perception, in terms of what you're seeing on the screen, it matters. And I felt really worked, and I think they could not have chosen a better game of the year for God of War winning it, because you had all the people from Sony Santa Monica there, the main cast, the main production team, and they all got up there, and you could tell they were all happy to be there, and it felt good to be recognized that way. And like, the way that everybody gets up for Best Picture, they gather everyone who's there. Like, it felt good. It felt like an award show. It felt like, it made you forget that you'd basically been watching a commercial for the last 3 hours.
Yep, look, Sam plucked it right out of our B-roll. Yep. Great job, Sam.
Look at here. I love this.
Look at Corey. I mean, you can just see it.
Oh, he's super happy. Like, I think they all thought that Red Dead Redemption was going to win too.
Oh yeah,
and
of course.
Look at Christopher Judge. I mean, I'm a Christopher Judge fan because I like Stargate SG-1. But watch him run up and hug his video game son here.
Yeah.
Give him a big like spin. Like, it was great. I thought it was a great moment.
I think what's impressed me the most with this year's show was you can clearly see how much it means to these people.
And how much like
people kind of would slough stuff off the last few years and be like, "Oh, this is great. We're here having fun. We're getting drunk." Yeah. This was the first year where it felt like the Oscars, where when they won, it made this huge impact on them emotionally.
And look at how they're behaving with these are people who bonded over making this project.
Either you bond with them or you kill them.
You don't get to see, but you don't get to see this human face on games all that often. You don't do a lot of stuff like this, and it's good to see.
Yeah.
The more you put this kind of a face out there of the people who make these games, and and how they appreciate being seen like this, the more it's going to like legitimize it as a real mass media art form.
Yep. Good for the industry, good for Jeff, good for us as viewers.
And everybody's dressed appropriately, for God's sake. There's nobody in jeans up there.
It was great. He's got the template now.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't deviate.
Set looks good. Like it looks
everything.
like I think
It was well produced. There was no awkward pauses or silence.
I think it looks like it cost more than it did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great job, man. Absolutely.
Solid.
And it is one of those rare
and believe
things
me, I
in
never
your
thought
life.
I never thought I'd say that about this show.
Yeah.
But like,
it is one of those rare things in entertainment or in life where it's this big endeavor, but ultimately you can congratulate one person.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he has a team that works with him, but he works on this all year.
Yeah.
Him.
Well, I mean,
and then he ramps it up as the year comes on to actually produce the show. Yeah. But this is all Jeff, man.
Yeah, Jeff's year is basically two halves. There's the half where he works on
Pre-pro,
E3, and there's the half where he works on this show.
Yep.
And I mean, look, like
the E3 stuff is dialed back now, though.
I don't know. I would not be surprised if he started focusing more of his year on this moving forward.
He probably made $3-4 million on this show.
That would personally.
Yep.
That would surprise me.
Not me.
But I don't think your economics work out really on that.
I think they do.
Maybe for the company he uses to make this every year, personally, I don't buy that. I don't know where that money would really come from, because you got to spend a lot of money to make this as well. But again, like, he's taking the shit.
Well, let me put you in on a little hint or a little secret. The Spike Video Game Awards, which everybody hated, made $20 to $25 million in profit every year. Mm-hmm. And you want to know how they made that money? Sponsorships. What does Jeff have out the ass? Sponsorships.
Yeah, but I think
Jeff is making megaton cash on this show. I guarantee it. And in fact, I know for a fact that is the case.
Well,
and that is good. He deserves every penny.
Well, I'm going to still need to see some more receipts on that one, I'm afraid. But we'll talk about it later.
It's not that hard. If you've worked in marketing and dealt with the dollars that they throw around, we would get $6 million from one company for the VGAs.
Yeah, but you didn't. Did you take that $6 million home, or did it get reinvested into what the company was going to do next?
Jeff is the company. There's no place to reinvest it.
Yeah, but you don't.
It's him.
You don't. No, he has a company that he uses to produce this show.
And I also know how much that costs to hire the same company that used to do the VGAs. Is the company that does the show.
No, but he has a company. Like you don't get. He doesn't get to just take that money home. Like that's.
He absolutely does. He pays everybody.
He pays,
and then he gets the rest.
Well, no, he pays himself something from it, but like that goes back in the company. Otherwise, he's paying an obscene amount of tax on it.
If you're making the money, you're going to pay taxes. That's how it works.
But then you got to start completely over.
If it doesn't matter, Matt. If the money stays in the company, you got to pay the tax on the company, and it's his LLC. He pays the money either way. I'm telling you, I know more about this than you do, and I'm telling you the truth right now. I'm not making this up.
I think you tend to think people are making a lot more money than they are on some of these things.
Maybe I know the facts about this one.
Maybe.
And I'm telling you, he did very, very well last night, and it's very well deserved. And he deserves every penny that he made.
I'm sure he did. I don't know if he's walking away from last night with more money than most of the people watching will ever make in their lifetimes. But
oh, yes, he just did. You can deny it all you want, but I know the truth. All right, let's move on. We're going to talk about Just Cause 4. I have not had a ton of time to play this. I played, I don't know, probably 6 hours total, something like that. I was jumping between that and Smash over the last few days while getting ready for the show. The pre-production for this episode was insane. But I have spent 6-7 hours playing it. At, how much have you spent playing it?
I don't keep track of my hours, but I have
vaguely.
I have like
10, 15,
something like that. I have 28 out of like 31 territories conquered on the map.
Wow.
So I'm like most of the way.
You've played a lot. Holy
I haven't
cow.
actually played that much. It's not that long a game.
Interesting. The map is gigantic.
The map's gigantic, but all you have to do is do one mission on each one to get in.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's like taking over territories takes like 10
one
minutes.
mission per territory.
Yeah, as long as you have, As long as you have, because you have basically like you have the map, and you've got like your little armies that you get from leveling up your chaos thing.
Yeah, we should probably explain the
Like,
whole
it's
concept
actually
first.
it seems really complex, but it's actually really simple to the point of stupid.
But the idea of the game
it feels
is
more complex.
We need to explain what the idea of the game is. The idea of the game is that it is a territory-driven campaign where you have this gigantic map and you need to take over as many sections of the map as possible.
Not gigantic by Just Cause standards, really.
Right.
This is a very small map compared to 3.
And there's also like a frontline system in the game where all the stuff that you do ties into how the front lines are affected. I honestly I haven't played it enough. You probably know better than me how that whole system works. But there's a whole system of armies going against other armies. There's this meta game that plays on underneath the surface of the game.
Yeah, I mean it's all fluff. Like it doesn't mean anything. It just means that
Plot.
sort of plot, but like the upshot is basically that like on the borders of these places, if wherever the skirmish is, if you go there, there's like two sides fighting and there's like flak everywhere. Like it can be hard to get anything done on the front line, as I learned when I tried to do a mission that happened to be right there, and the AI was not designed to get around the gun emplacements that were there, and that was annoying. But basically, yeah, you're working with this army called the Army of Chaos. It's kind of trying to start a revolution in this country, ruled by yet another, mindless dictator, just like every Just Cause. The hook on this one for the Rico story is that he's his father. So the last game took place in this like Caribbean Italian style island called Medici, that like where he grew up, basically under an adopted family, I guess. But it turns out his father was working on this crazy weather dominator machine here for this Espinosa guy, and he's here to kind of get answers about his father and what happened and why he built this terror weapon, and in the end he gets mixed up in this rebellion army. And so the way that plays out is, the tradition of the game series is, you blow stuff up and you get chaos points. And sometimes that's just kind of like to create kind of like a GTA style like wanted level, or sometimes it's just there to kind of gauge your performance in a particular mini game or whatever. In this, the chaos level determines the size of the army of chaos. So every time you level up
That's your side.
Yeah, your bar levels up, you get a couple more little risk-style armies to mess around with. And the trick is that like every time, so you start up with like one little territory, and every time you expand out, you have a certain number of armies to hold your front line. So it seems to be between 0 and 4 for the most part. And so basically you have to keep leveling up the army to have enough armies to keep pushing out.
It really is kind of like a game of Risk. That's
sort
a
of.
good way
And to be
describe it.
fair, you don't actually have to like super max stuff out, because if you play your expansion right and like kind of drive everyone, so say you've got like 2 fronts, and you've got like 2 armies on one side and 1 army on the other side. If in the direction of the one army is like 1 territory to the ocean, if you take over that ocean side territory, you don't have to use an army to hold that side anymore, so you can then move that over forward. So if you kind of like consolidate and move to the west, because you start on the far east side of the island, if you move to the west, you can pretty much do it pretty simple. And the way taking over the territory works is there will always be one place in each territory that has like a conquest mission in it, which usually is unlocked by just discovering the place, like going near it. In fact, you can do that in a territory that is not adjacent to any of your holding. You can go to the farther side of the map and do that, and you'll have to use a bunch of armies to hold it, but you can still do it. So you find that thing, you go to the place that has the little conquest mission, or whatever they call it, you complete the mission, which is usually one of like 4 different style missions. You finish it, and then after that, the territory is ripe for the taking, and you just go to the map screen and click the name of the territory, and if you have the armies for it, you take it over, and you get whatever bonus it gives you. Usually it unlocks like a weapon or a vehicle. Some of them, I think there's 8 territories that have factories in them, and if you take that over, it gives you a bonus to your airdrop stuff. You can airdrop vehicles and weapons and stuff, and every factory you take reduces the time of recharge for that by like 15%. So the idea is sort of to conquer the whole island, And in the meantime, there's 3 main campaign threads where you're going after the 3 cores of the Weather Dominator machine.
Yeah.
One that does lightning storms, one that does tornadoes, and one that does sandstorms. And so through the course of doing those, kind of the main story unfolds, and you get kind of more access to the weather power, which is sort of the hook of the game, which is a little weird.
That's its USP, its unique selling proposition.
Yeah, which
it's
is
weather.
weird because, like, the weather thing is not really much of a part of the game.
They talk about it more than it actually affects anything. No, you're right. That's a good point. Like, they talk about it constantly, and then it never really affects the game as much as they make it out
every once in a while, a tornado will be in a place you want to be, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Really.
For me, at least from what I played so far, it hasn't been as big a deal as I thought it was going to be. What do you think of the quality of this game, Matt, as far as its workmanship that went into it?
I think it is real rough. It is.
Which version are you playing?
Xbox One.
On the X, you're playing.
On the X. It's smoother than 3. 3 had a lot of frame rate problems. I've not had a frame rate issue. It runs pretty smoothly, but the problem is, game's ugly.
It's not very pretty.
Just Cause has always been a very pretty series, and this game is not pretty.
Apparently, they've said that they built a new engine for this.
Maybe. I mean, look. The cutscene, the pre-rendered cutscenes, because there's real-time stuff, and then there's like stuff that's clearly a movie you're seeing. That stuff looks like it might be up-resed 720p.
Yeah,
like there's
really grainy.
banding on the
weird.
sky, and like it looks like it was rendered wrong.
The lighting in this game is terrible.
It is.
That is its biggest problem. Is the lighting engine is one of the most unrealistic things I've ever seen.
Lighting's very weird.
It makes everything look bad.
It makes the hair look really bad.
Oh gosh!
Like if you've got a backlit character and they have facial hair, run.
Yeah.
The light shines through like Rico's beard, and it's like that's not how light or hair or anything works. I don't know what you're doing. The water is just like one flat texture. There's no anything to it. And the other thing is like
the water looks so bad.
There's a weird blurring to it when you move a certain speed. If you're riding like a motorcycle or like the blurring is so bad it hurts my eyes at times. Like it's like, and there's there's one mission in like you're riding on top of like a truck or something that like one of the revolutionary guys is driving, and like I had to like stop and like get up and look at it because I couldn't focus on the truck, and it was like the car was like micro bouncing up and down so much while driving that it looked like the whole car and Rico were out of focus. Like it was blurred.
The vehicles in this game are so bad.
Yeah,
they control so bad.
Somehow the vehicles are too heavy and too light.
It's like you hit a rock and it flies like 40 feet up in the air.
But like if you're driving it like at speed, like the car will handle like a brick.
That's terrifying.
But if you're
driving a car fast,
if you're trying to turn around in a short space, it will just bounce around like it's made of paper. Like nothing works right.
Here's my biggest issue with this game in general is that across the board it is inconsistent. So you're talking about the vehicle physics. You're right. Sometimes it feels like the car weighs like 80 tons. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it feels like the shocks are made out of like frickin' boomerangs. And so the handling is never consistent. Shooting the guns is inconsistent. So the auto aim in this game at times is even stronger than the auto aim in Red Dead Redemption 2, if you can believe it. Like it will
sometimes
literally
you're just snapping
from like 20 feet away.
And sometimes it's like, nope.
No, sometimes it just doesn't work.
It's like, no, we don't see anyone. There's no one there.
It's insane.
It's weird.
And then if you, God forbid, if you try to manually aim with this game, because the right stick is so jerky, it's got this weird like momentum thing where you push the stick at first, it's slow, and then it just accelerates to like warp speed.
Yeah, and I've played with the
I tried the sensitivity.
It doesn't.
I couldn't get it.
No matter what you do in terms of sensitivity, it still has that weird acceleration the longer you hold it.
Yep.
And like that happens when you're driving. I just want to look to the left to see where I'm turning, and suddenly I'm like
you spin out.
Spun out. I'm turning.
It's bad. This is not a good game.
Like they solved the things that were annoying about 3, but they there's like so many. They doubled the problems of everything else.
There are things that are better. I think the plot in this is better.
Yes.
The story is better. It takes itself more seriously. It's not like this like ham-fisted like joke of like an action movie.
It doesn't.
The voiceover works pretty good.
You don't upgrade things by performing stupid races all the time.
It's like a more serious take on the IP.
They finally
but
understood.
it's just a technical mess.
Yeah, they finally understood that we don't want to spend 40 hours like hunting for like the last Transformer in a thing. So
Which I've watched you do, by the way.
Yeah, like you know, in Just Cause 2 and 3, where you had to go to every single town and blow up all the statues and blow up. None of that. There's no required destruction in this game at all. Like you can blow stuff up in towns if you want, but you are never required to do that to clear them. All the stuff each town has, like each location or whatever has has associated stunt things. So it's like fly your wingsuit through these rings or drive through this ring at a certain speed or whatever. And by the way, you can cheat all that stuff like crazy. Like the speed rings, early on I figured out that, you know, because I'm trying to get a car that can get up to like 150 kilometers an hour to go through this ring that's like off a jump that's really awkward and I can't get it. And then eventually I figured out, oh, helicopters count for this. So you just fly helicopters through every single speed ring and you're done.
Are you kidding
me?
No,
you can do that. And the other thing is the wing. So the wingsuit, if you pre-ordered, this is interesting. I don't know if you get this ability.
Dude, the last game it took me forever to be able to handle using the wingsuit accurately.
Yeah. Well, this one's worse because the camera's weird.
Yeah,
I have a lot more trouble.
I'm having more problems with this one than I had the last one.
So one of the pre-order bonuses was basically a jetpack for the wingsuit, and I don't know if you get that later in the game on your own, or if it's only a pre-order bonus. That is a shitty pre-order bonus because you have broken the game for people who did not get that.
Yeah,
because
there's no multiplayer where you can use it.
But the thing is, so that when you equip the jetpack thing, it tells you wingsuit challenges won't count while you're using this, because the point of the wingsuit challenges is to glide through them. That message is lying.
It works
because you can jetpack right through those fuckers. I mean, maybe they mean because there's like a whole bunch of stupid human tricks you can do that are just like a leaderboard challenge with your friends sort of thing. Maybe they meant that. Maybe that doesn't count. But it sure reads like they mean the wingsuit stunt challenges.
Wait. Here comes a bug. Watch this.
And that's not true.
Look.
Oh, there goes the... Goodbye, trees. The trees are going home for the winter.
Stuff like this happens all the time in this
rough.
game.
And I am a little shocked by the reviews this has gotten.
The funny part is, like, I edited this out of the B-roll, but I eventually go over and try to go up the hill. You can see I get up there. By the time I got up there, they had disappeared. So I was trying to see what I was going to see is these trees that are floating in air, can I grapple to them and then ride them up into the sky like a balloon? But no, they disappeared by the time I got up there. But yeah, you can see I was not very good with the wingsuit. I could not manage it.
No, I think it plays very awkwardly, and this is coming from someone who can play Just Cause 3 like a fiddle. I mean,
you can. You're really good at it.
The changes in the physics and the errors in the physics are egregious to this whole thing. Yeah. It's so weird. Like
Here's the thing, though. I've actually had fun with this game.
Yeah, I don't hate it. But it's like
the grapple is just there's no other game like it. No other game that has it, and it lets you do stuff and think of stuff that you could never even fathom in other games.
Yeah, it's just if this game was technically sound, it would be amazing.
It really would. Because again, I feel like the plot and the other parts of the game it feels like they got half of a game right with 3. Yep. They've got the other half of it right with 4. Now if they get to make 5, which who knows?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
feel like this game sort of went under the radar a little bit.
I think intentionally.
Yeah, it could be. And of course, it also, I don't know what the DLC is going to be, the expansion stuff, but they did sort of scale back on the ridiculous shit again, because once you got all the DLC in place on Just Cause 3, you've got jetpacks and jet boats with like giant cannons and and a giant mech that can shoot mortars and stuff. And all that's gone now, except for the jetpack if you pre-ordered for the thing.
Yeah.
And of course, it feels somehow scaled back, even though you can do some pretty crazy stuff. They also oh god, the boats are so bad.
All the vehicles.
For a second, I just thought of the boats. But they tried to expand the grapple stuff because, like, you know, there isn't really the upgrade system that there was in 3. You could upgrade almost everything. In this one, you basically just upgrade the grapple.
Now watch it. Maybe you can help me with this. So when I get out of vehicles in this game, they don't stop.
Yeah, the momentum is
Watch.
weird.
So I run after it, get back in it because I don't want to lose it because it was about to go into the creek. So I get out, and then it goes the other way.
Yeah. Apparently, Rico doesn't know how parking brakes work.
Every video game in the world, when you get out of the car, it doesn't move.
But like there's one of the types of missions you can get to clear the takeover mission is this is at harbors. If there's a harbor, you'll have to do a thing where they somehow the dictator's forces have rigged all these vehicles in the harbor to blow up. And so the idea is you have to like get 10 of them. There's usually like 30 of them. So you have to get 10 of them in a time limit, drive them into the water to defuse them. If you're driving, so like you say, like every time you get out of a car, the fucker keeps rolling, or you can't control where it ends up, or whatever. So, but when you do this challenge, so what's your instinct? If you're driving towards the water, you dive out of the car and no, that car will just stop.
It
like
stops.
The car will just roll. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I can't get the car to stop moving every other time in the game, but when I really want it to
where
fly,
it should.
Yeah. So instead, you have to drive into the water and parachute out of it. It's doable, but it's like you said, the inconsistency of how literally everything in this game works is annoying
There's no Bible,
it's a constant
no rules.
presence. It's the one consistent thing about the game is it's very inconsistent.
And then it brings out like the Fulton stuff from MGS5,
Right.
where you have to like literally move stuff out of the road using balloons.
Yeah, which, by the way, the reason this is in the game is because sometimes you will hit a point where, like, if you didn't have an ability to lift a heavy thing out of your way, you would no longer be able to progress.
The game is broke with bricks,
because shit just falls everywhere. It's like I said, it was one of the missions with one of the other revolutionary guys. And the thing is, you have to get in the car. You have to ride the car with him to where you're going. Like the objective is literally get on top of the car and you'll go there. And so he turns into like a I don't know. I guess they're called hedgehogs. Where you cross the 3 steel beams together to create like a barrier for you see it on like the beach in Normandy.
Yeah,
you know?
you're talking about,
He just turns right into it. And so I tried this, like, and usually what he does, he turns into it, and if you're contacting an object in a vehicle in this game, you are damaging the vehicle. Yeah. And eventually the vehicle will blow up. Even if you're just sort of stuck on it, you're still damaging the vehicle, and eventually it'll explode. So I knew I was under a time limit. So I'm like, I had to try this probably 15 times. And so I finally, before I get on the truck, I use the Fulton thing to lift the hedgehog out of the way. And he turns away and goes through where the hedgehog goes, and then hits the one next to it. Like, so it became this thing where I had to like move everything around. And then like if he hit the wrong thing on the way out of that area, like a gun would blow him up. And finally we eventually got it. The reason you can tell that the developers knew this game is as fucked up as it is because this game saves checkpoints every single time you do anything. Like the race missions in this game, the physics are so inconsistent, you have no guarantee you're going to make it to the next gate in time because you could hit a gerbil in the road and fly 40 feet over to the other side.
You're not exaggerating.
No, not at all.
He's not exaggerating. Like there was one time where I was driving a car probably 20, 25 miles an hour, and there was a body in the road. I ran over one of the body's legs, and the whole ass end shot up over the front end. Yeah.
So like in the race missions, what do you think when in Just Cause 3 even? So you got to get through like 12 gates in a certain amount of time. Every time you get through the gate, the timer resets, and so that's how it works. So what do you think that's going to be if you fail that race? You got to do the race over again. No, not in this game. The checkpoint is the last gate you went through because they know. They know. There's no other fucking explanation for that. No other checkpoint race I've ever played in my life starts you over at each checkpoint. You have to finish the race, but they know you can't do that reliably, so they checkpoint you after every single thing.
Here's the thing, though. I've had fun with this game. Like, there was one time where I Fultoned an enemy, and he started floating up. As he started floating up, there was like a flame that caught onto him, and then he started flying up into the air, hanging upside down by his ankle, on fire, screaming. Like, there's stuff that happens in this game that will only happen in this game, but
a bunch of
there's too much other crap to get through.
But there's like things you can use to play with, like the upgrades for for the grapple. So the grapple is a weird thing where you can do 3 loadouts because there's the 3 different things the grapple can do now. Is it can do the retractor thing,
Right.
which it always did, where you can pull 2 things together or pull something down or whatever.
You saw earlier I was using like that to pull the barrels over to the door to blow up the door.
There's the airlift thing, which is the Fulton thing, and then there are boosters, which basically put like a jet rocket on whatever you latch it onto. And then by doing side missions for 3 specific characters, you can get various upgrades, and some of them are really cool. So like at some point you can decide, is the Fulton balloon filled with helium or is it filled with hydrogen?
Oh boy.
So it explodes. You can set, does the Fulton lift them 15 meters, or does it lift them higher, or does it never stop? You can have things just fly all the way up to the top of the game ceiling and pop like when they get high up in the atmosphere, and that car will fall. That will fall later. Stuff like that. You can have the boosters last for 30 seconds. So they're just going like crazy. You can have the retractor thing. You can have it so when the retractor pulls together, it creates an explosion, which, by the way, is the best thing to do everything.
Yeah.
Like if you don't want to ever fire another shot again, you're just doing that to everybody.
You can use a grapple hook in so many creative ways in this game. I mean,
they expanded that tremendously.
It really is kind of like this game is like a toy.
Yeah.
It's not really a game. It's like this thing that you kind of fiddle around with and have fun with.
Right, but it's like Red Dead Redemption in the sense that once you have to get down and start playing the game, the flaws all bubble up.
Yeah.
Once you have to do something specific and not just doing whatever comes along and going with the flow, that's when the problems start to become annoying rather than charming.
Yep, absolutely. To your point, again, I try not to say people's reviews are wrong, but I would say that the aggregate score for this right now is higher than what I would.
Yeah, the rent is too damn high on the Metacritic right now. Like for a game that costs full price, I am shocked this is getting 7s and 8s.
Yeah, that's pretty generous.
It's real generous.
Yeah.
It's maybe eventually after some patching and some of the expansions it will get there, but right now this would be in the 5 or 6 range to me. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have fun playing it. I've played it long enough that I'm clearly, getting something out of it. I would have stopped if I didn't.
Yeah.
But like, it's so janky.
It is
on every imaginable
level. A year
level.
from now, it could be a different game.
Yeah, but it is also. But my main thing with that is like it's janky in ways 3 was not, and like I have a certain level of reliability I expect out of a Just Cause game, and this does not meet that.
Yeah.
So that's my main issue with it.
Yeah.
I would definitely say do not pay full price for this game.
No.
Not yet.
In its current state right now, I would say I wouldn't pay more than $35 for it probably.
And
I said, it's a fun toy to fiddle around with, but
and I feel like you're going to be able to pay $35 for it pretty soon.
Yep, if you wait about 60 days, or actually if you just wait after the holidays, probably in mid-January, you'll probably see this game on sale a lot of places. So yeah, neither one of us recommend it for a full-priced purchase.
No, and I'm a big Just Cause fan. Even as someone who is able to moderately overlook the technical problems in 3, this is a better designed game in terms of how they do things. It's not as like just Cause 3 is just sort of a big like, here, do the same thing 4,000 times.
Right.
Screw you,
Yeah.
Whereas like this has a lot more variety and a lot more thought put into what they're having the player do over and over to make sure it stays fun, or would stay fun if you could get it to agree with itself more than once.
Yep.
So yeah, it just needs a lot more. It needed another 6 months in the oven, it seems like to me.
It's not how it worked out, though, unfortunately.
Nope.
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about the Epic Game Store. Probably the biggest announcement from this week, in fact, was the Epic Game Store.
Yes. An epic announcement, if you will.
Yes, absolutely epic. And this could be an industry game changer. So for those of you who have not heard, the Epic Store is like a new version of Steam, except Epic is only taking 12% of the cut instead of 30%, which is what Steam and pretty much every online marketplace in the world currently takes.
And that 12% will also cover the fee for the using Unreal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is crazy.
It really is. So from a developer's perspective,
it's a huge win.
Oh, on so many levels. What does this do to Steam?
Yeah, Epic came to play.
And it has the money to play.
And
which it didn't have before, but it has it now.
And you're already seeing stuff that's exclusive to the Epic Store. Like you've already got that Obsidian game, and I think Ashen is also on Epic only right now. What was the Supergiant game? Supergiant
Hades.
The early access is on Epic. So,
Yeah, that's a big deal.
it's. I mean, this to me. I think this is the most, maybe the only, but definitely the most serious shot anyone has taken at Steam.
Not just Steam. I think not even just the games industry, but the digital distribution industry in general. This sets a precedent. It's saying, hey, all you effers out there have been gouging people and making way too much money off of this stuff than you should be. Because it's not just Steam and video games. It's movies on iTunes or songs on iTunes. I mean, Apple takes that cut from everything. And this is going to force people to recalibrate. And it's going to start with Steam. People are going to be like, wait a minute, like, especially developers. How easy is it for Epic to now sign stuff exclusively to its store? It's just it's a deal that signs itself.
Valve might have to start making games again.
I mean, what do you do if you're Valve now? Because now it's obvious you're a greedy bastard. It's now been proven. We thought you were a greedy bastard. Now we know you are a greedy bastard.
Well, nobody had the money and the wherewithal to kind
prove
of challenge that.
Right. And now Epic's like, yo, bro, we're taking less than half of what you've been making, and we're happy about it.
And how crazy is it that Epic is in a position to do that
all because of Fortnite.
So soon after they were almost gone.
I know.
They were on the edge.
All because of Fortnite. But you know what I love? I love that Epic is taking the money it's making off of Fortnite and changing the industry.
That is an interesting, the fact that Journey is on there.
Yeah, a PlayStation exclusive.
PlayStation exclusive published by Sony going to another platform. I don't know if that has ever happened before.
Here's the thing, though. So if you actually go to the store, there's like nothing there.
Right.
It literally, all the games that you're seeing in this trailer are the only games available right now at Epic Store.
I don't think that's going to last, though.
No, well, of course not. But that's going to be the tough problem for them, is overcoming the catalog that all the other services have.
At the same time, not having the thousands of bullshit games on Steam and just having kind of cream of the crop on Epic Store for now, that could be an advantage.
Kind of a welcome, like a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Super excited about that game. I mean, you look at just the amount of games that have gone on. You know, when I first got into like Steam sale stuff in like 2011 or 2012, like there were like 400 games on Steam.
I know.
Now there's like 7,000.
Oh, there's more than that.
It was 7,000 added.
That's like 7,000 a year that they add. Yeah, there's like
and it used to be like 400 something a year. Now it's 7,000 or something. But it's like, you know.
And you wonder too if that.
I feel like this is a good addressing of kind of like Jim Sterling's continual complaint about Steam.
You're right.
Like,
yeah.
Because I get the feeling that Epic, at least early on, until they become the greedy bastards, Epic will not be letting kind of all that shovelware crap on there.
Well, you wonder, too, how much that back catalog on Steam actually matters.
Yeah.
Because games, more than almost any other entertainment medium, like you have your window, and that's changing a lot with games as a service right now. But in the past, you've had that window, and when your window passes, that's it. Remasters are helping revive old games, Xbox Game Pass. But you just wonder if what we perceive as an advantage for Steam, its back catalog, actually is an advantage at all. Or is it more of a detriment at this point because it clutters up the storefront so much?
I don't know. We'll see where that goes.
I mean, Epic has a clean slate to start here. Literally, right now, it's clean because there's like 8 total games on the service. But it has the ability not just to reshape financially how this stuff works, but aesthetically, how stuff's curated, how it deals with its community, which Steam has been at loggerheads with on multiple occasions. Steam has learned a lot of hard lessons for Epic.
Yeah, but Steam hasn't come up with a lot of solutions.
No. Its solution is we're making 30% off everything.
The solution is like, where else are you going to go?
Right. Not anymore.
Well, it looks like Epic might have an answer now.
But that's the counterpoint that Steam would say, well, yeah, there's a competitor, but are they really a competitor? They have 20 games, and we have 20 million.
Well, give it a year.
I mean, how long is it going to take before every game is not like a day? Every developer or publisher last night was like, why? I mean, sure, we're going to keep selling on Steam because there's going to be stubborn people who love Valve who are going to stay there, and they're going to keep buying their games there because they're going to say, oh, well, all my collection is here and blah, blah, blah. But smart people are going to start going
Yeah.
to Epic
Well,
because
help
Epic's
the-
going to start getting exclusives like
Yeah.
Steam has had for the last.
They already have exclusives.
Right.
And they're giving
They
out.
launched with them. Yeah.
They're giving out a free game every.
A free
couple
game
of
every
months.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yes. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's amazing, and it's what the industry has needed for a long.
And I think there's a
long
difference
time.
here where, like, previously, like, there's been resistance to things outside of Steam, like Origin or UB Club or Club UB, whatever the hell, like stuff like that, because the reason those exist is because these publishers want their own little walled garden where they get to take your money
Take all the
directly
money,
and all that.
yeah.
Whereas, like, here's Epic doing this, and there's a little more altruism to this in the sense that they're like, we're cutting the people who make these games a better deal.
There's mods
Yeah.
involved too, which
So,
is
like,
a big deal.
This is the first compelling reason to jump from Steam ever, maybe? I mean,
ever.
GOG not having DRM was a good one, but GOG just didn't have the volume.
Here's the thing from the consumer's perspective, though, is going to Epic Store doesn't change much for them. They're
Right.
still paying the same price for
Yeah,
the
the
games.
prices aren't going to be any different.
But Epic's lower cut allows Epic to get content that Steam can't get.
Right.
And eventually you hope that the consumers start to realize that, and instead of buying all their games from Steam, they start buying them all from you.
And there's no better way to secure the exclusives than to say, we'll pay you more.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They get everything now. I mean, unless Valve is like, okay, we're going to take 12 now. You think that's going to happen?
I think it'll have to, eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
But
I
there's
think
going to have to be
year
a lot
from
of
now-
there's going to be a lot of meetings and a long, tedious exchange of emails first.
Yep, absolutely. And I think it'll take a year before they finally relent, because that's when they'll start to see their numbers slide.
Yeah, because they're going to have to see some actual data.
Because
Yeah.
until then, they're just going to believe that their fans are delusional and are going to follow them no matter what. And to a certain extent, some of them are, but not all of them. And the vast majority of people that use Steam are not hardcore Valve fanboys. They just like games. And so those people, it's going to be easy to get them to go someplace new if you can offer deals, or if you do know you're going to get something first there, or you have to go there just to get the game you want. So, bravo. This is the Bravo episode. To Keighley, to Epic Games. This is freaking awesome. This is what you want to see. This is what, when you give a company your money, this is what you want to see the company do with it. You want to see them reinvest it into their services and then create a better way, a new way to do things. And that's exactly what Epic has done. And I would not be surprised within 3 years' time, the Epic Store is Steam. It is the new standard, what the 11-year-old PC gamer knows as the marketplace to buy PC games instead of Steam. So, gigantic move. Literally, it's one of those stories that a lot of people may not even have read on Sifted when it was curated or whatever, but it's one of the biggest stories of the year, absolutely. And if you're an indie developer, it is the biggest story of the year, not even close. Think about that. It's 18%. That's like the entire profit margin for a lot of products that you're getting now just for selling it on Epic Store instead of Steam. So I will be very interested to see Valve's response to this. Very interested. I think there will be hubris at first. I think there will be conceit. I think there will be overconfidence at first. And I think slowly over time, over the next 12, 18 months, you're going to see its customer base start to erode and start to migrate over to Epic.
Because one thing we know about gamers, they will go where the thing they want is.
Absolutely. And if you can only get it one place, they're smart enough and savvy enough to find it.
Oh, I have to install. I have to install another thing. Oh, too bad. Okay, like done.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
a million. That's a million thing I've installed at this point.
Yeah.
I'm over the whole like, oh, I don't really want to install an app, or I don't really want to install another program. I got over that like 5 years ago. Like, there was a certain point where I wanted to keep my PC like clean and make sure it ran fast. I didn't want any like resource hogs on my PC. That's just not the way it is anymore. One, because most programs run like a beast now. All the programmers are smart, and there's middleware that helps them build stuff. Like, there aren't a lot of resource hog programs anymore. And two, you just don't have a choice. If you want to live in the modern digital age, you can't just have one service. It's just not the way it works anymore. So, kudos to Epic. Amazing. Pretty quick, too. If you think about it, like, I'm sure there's a lot of people sitting around right now being like, I could have done that. Like we were talking about earlier. Why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I do that? And there's a lot of companies with capital sitting around that could have done this so easily. If you look at that website, Like Brent, the guy who built Sifted, probably could build that site in like a week. That's how simple it is right now. So it just seems like Epic just got a hitch in its step and was like, we're going for it. We're going to reinvest this money in our future, and I think it will pay huge dividends.
It's also going to mean we're going to get a lot more Unreal games.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge incentive to use their engine as well.
Absolutely.
And to tie the success of your business not just to them in terms of what engine you're using, but in terms of how you're selling your game. Like it ties all these companies to Epic in a financial way and in a creative way in so many different directions that you're just tied to Epic in a way you can never extricate yourself from without reinventing your business model.
Absolutely.
It's genius.
It absolutely is. Epic making major moves.
Yeah, because like you said, like anyone could have built this, but only Epic was in a position to like kind of hit that synergy level where you're like, oh.
Yeah, there's only one company that owns Fortnite.
Yeah,
and Epic is it.
And
that Trojan horse
engine
alone. Just think about that Trojan horse alone to market and advertise your new service to all those people.
Yep.
And imagine if like somehow they start like getting console games on there. Like who knows what happens in the future? Everything.
Start running ads in Fortnite.
Yep.
I mean, it's free to play. Load up, get an ad for the latest Epic Games Store
exclusive. Can't complain
exclusive.
when you got it for free.
Yep.
That's for sure. So
yeah, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, really? Epic's gonna do?
Oh.
I
see what you did there. Absolutely. Yep. So congratulations, Epic, on the launch, and I see nothing but clear skies ahead for you guys. Let's move on. We're going to talk next about Red Dead Online, something we talked about in last week's episode, but we had not played it. We had all the details from a press release that Rockstar had sent me, and we knew what it was supposed to be like to play, but we had not played it. Matt, have you played it since?
No.
Did you play it this week? Okay.
I actually forgot that it was a thing.
That's probably good. I hate Red Dead Online.
Ooh,
hate it.
You were so positive before when we were just
when you talk about it.
Yeah.
Words are words, actions are actions, and once this thing is in action. So I told the story earlier about how I did a live stream with Red Dead Online, and the sad part really is that in the first like 20 minutes of the stream, people told me there were problems with the stream, but with the streaming, it's like I always wonder if it's someone else's connection or whatever, and always like it's not me because it's set up the same way it was before. It's the same internet connection as before. It should be working fine. It's probably your problem on your end. Turns out it wasn't. It was absolutely my problem, and I have an hour and a half of like a slideshow that I recorded from that. But while I was playing it for that hour and a half, it had to be the most frustrating 90 minutes of playing a video game that I've experienced since the first night of playing GTA Online. It was... I can't even begin to explain how frustrating it was. Everybody just kills everybody. That's pretty much what it is.
It sounds like
so
what I would expect.
You're trying to accomplish something, and you're riding from one waypoint to another. If you cross paths with any other human character, you're dead. They just shoot you. You're dead. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's no way to avoid them. If you try to ride off the roads, they come after you. They follow you. It's just people riding around, killing each other. That's all it is. But the framework of the game, you don't get rewarded for that in any way, shape, or form. The framework of the game is, hey, here's these missions that you should be completing. And if you're one of the people who are trying to do that, screw you. It is the worst, most toxic, intolerable online environment I may have ever experienced in my life.
So there's not a lot of people with high honor scores?
No. No, everybody is rock bottom, Matt. All of them. All of them are at the bottom. And after a while, you start to get frustrated because you just want to complete a mission. So when they start shooting at you, you shoot back because you're like, this is the 5th time I've respawned and tried to ride to this point to complete this mission, and you're the 80th jerk yahoo who has just shot me for no freaking reason. So you shoot back, and then your rating goes down. Like, I had literally no fun playing Red Dead Online. Zero. It was frustrating, angering. I don't understand why anyone would want to play this. I really don't. Unless you can somehow find a server where it's just you and your bros. The other thing, too, is that playing the beta of this and playing it now is completely different. In the beta, you'd run across another human character every mile or something. they're everywhere now. Like the servers are so populated. There's just groups of it's just a big free for all of people shooting each other.
It sounds like what the online for the first game was pretty much at launch.
It's team deathmatch with no rewards. There's no incentive to do it. There's no rewards for doing it. People just can't help themselves.
When we were doing online for the first game, we were trying to get achievements that we could only get online in multiplayer, and there were points at which like we would have to assign one of our group to get the achievement, and the rest of us would have to hold off the other players on the servers while that other player tried to do a thing intentionally.
Sure.
That's pretty much what I thought this was going to be. I thought maybe not, because like what we were describing, what you were talking about last week, sounded like a more structured thing. But to be honest, I care so little about playing a Rockstar game online that like I completely forgot it was a thing until I saw the rundown today, so I didn't play it. But it sounds like it's just more of the same crap.
So that's actually the good part of Red Dead Online. The worst part is the competitive multiplayer, where you have like Team Deathmatch and King of the Hill and all this crap, and it's because everybody has auto aim. It is ridiculous. It's people standing still. It's basically like a speed reload competition, like who can reload their gun the fastest and get the fourth bullet in before the guy drops. It's so bad. So bad. I have no interest in going back and playing this at all. If they can start creating modes that get you away from all the assholes who are playing this game, I'll give it a try. But any option where I have to be around the open world people, no interest. None. Zero. Zilch. Nada. I had a horrible experience playing this online. The beginning is okay when you're sheltered, and then as soon as they open it up, no fun. The competitive stuff, I don't know how you fix that. I don't know how you add real aiming into the game for the online so that it actually has some semblance of skill. It's just combine the auto aim with the way the player moves, where you're controlling the player like it's a car, like go faster, go slower, got to keep hitting the button to sprint. All of it is just garbage, total garbage. I can't imagine why anyone would play the competitive modes in this game.
So when you go back to the game eval, is the connectivity going to get still just stick it at 0?
I mean, no, it won't.
Because it does in fact connect?
It does, yes. Ultimately, it's going to boost the average eval score. And I am going to go back and adjust our game eval now that I've played the connectivity part of the game. It's not going to help it that much, though. Because to me, it's like, it doesn't really matter how much stuff there is if the core experience is ruined. And it's ruined by the community, and it's ruined by the auto aim for the competitive stuff and the awkward movement controls in the game. Like, I don't know. I felt bad for the people who were playing this online. I'm like, bro, just go buy Call of Duty or something, man. Like, what are you doing wasting your time in these modes? Like, I don't know. It was bad. It's the worst online I've played in a long, long, long time. Because a lot of games just don't bother anymore if they're going to be that bad. It used to be back in, like, the PS3, Xbox 360 era, like, every game had multiplayer because they're just like, we need to have it because there's Xbox Live and there's PlayStation Network. Now developers have figured out, we don't need a multiplayer mode unless it's good. Rockstar, I think because they started developing this game back in the PS3 and Xbox 360 era, haven't got the memo yet that no mode is better than an abysmal mode. Maybe some people are finding... you know what? I didn't even find anyone who seemed like they were having fun in this, Matt. Everybody was just yelling at each other, calling each other names, shooting each other in the face. Like, it was just bad. The whole thing was just bad. And look, I know they turned around GTA Online, but the fact that this released after they had turned around GTA Online, and this is what they think is a good take on a multiplayer mode, does not bode well for them getting it fixed or changed in some way, shape, or form to where it gets to a place where I want to play it. So until somebody comes up to me and says, Shane, they completely changed Red Dead Online, I have no interest in going back in there at all. I have so many good multiplayer games sitting on my console right now. Like, Battlefield 5 or Black Ops 4 or hell, playing Forza Horizon 4. Anything is more enjoyable than this. I can't even put it into words how disappointed I am in Red Dead Online. It is just, yeah. After reading their press release and listening to the concepts and the ideas and how intriguing they sounded, and then going in and actually experiencing those concepts, I don't know that I've ever felt anything like that before, where I was just like flummoxed. I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing something here. This can't be like I'm in like some weird lobby, or I'm not actually in the online environment. I'm like in some weird little cordoned off place where we're just supposed to kill each other while we're waiting for the real thing to start.
Like the pre-match thing in a battle royale game, kind of. Yeah.
It's the game. That's the game. Yeah. Not recommended by Shane A. Satterfield, I'll tell you that much right now. If you bought Red Dead, if you put down the $60 instead of like getting it at Redbox or whatever because of Red Dead Online, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Unless you're a GTA Online fan and that's what you wanted. Sounds very similar.
Like, that's the way GTA Online is now?
If you're in like the kind of the free-for-all general area, I mean, it's not like when you're doing the heist, you're kind of like you say, you're sheltered from the, sort of your own thing. But if you're just going into like a random game, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Just people running around ganking people. You have a lot more options to fight back now than you did at launch, but like, yeah, it's pretty much what it is.
No thanks. All right, let's move on to our last topic of episode 151, and that is a game that just came out this morning, today, last night, if you sit in line, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for Switch. Now, just to get it out in the open before we get started, I am not a big Smash Brothers fan. I've played them all. I played the first one a lot. The second one, not as much. The third one, hardly at all. And now I'm getting to the point where I don't have a ton of interest in playing Smash Brothers games really at all. I was hoping that this would be one that maybe had some new features or something that kind of mixed things up. And I think a lot of people who like Smash Brothers would be devastated if that were the case. If they made a game that I actually liked, because most people love Smash the way it is. So the good news is, for those people, they're going to be very happy. This is another Smash Brothers with the most characters, stages, modes, pretty much everything.
Yeah, this is everything that's ever been in Smash Brothers all smushed into one package.
Smashed up brothers.
All the characters ever, plus a few new ones. I think you have to unlock, I think, 66 characters in this game.
And you unlock them, the vast majority of them, by playing the single player mode.
Well, you unlock them by playing the game. The method to unlock them seems to be every 10 minutes or so. Somebody's supposed to challenge you. So there was a method early on when the game was leaked out early, where basically it was like 10 minutes. So you'd go into it was a glitch, I guess, because you can go into a match, a 10-minute long match, go in, go out, intentionally lose to the challenger who comes up, and then you reset the game and do something where it makes it so you only have to do it every minute. But they patched that out. So now if you do that method, it's going to take something like 660 minutes to do that. So it's actually more efficient to just play the single-player campaign and get them that way, which is also a long haul. And then sometimes it counts that time as well. So any characters you unlock in the single-player campaign
I love
also
that scene right there where all the hands are floating across the sky.
This scene is so I do appreciate that the kind of the story-driven scenes are back where you get to see everybody together.
It's so dumb. It's a big hand in the sky.
Well, yeah, it's Smash Brothers, Master Hand, motherfucker.
And there is a plot.
Yeah.
And the plot is
I love because the light basically dissolves everybody. But of course Kirby gets away because it's made by HAL.
Well, he gets away because he can travel at the speed of light.
No, Kirby gets away because he is Kirby and they make Kirby. And every campaign in Smash Brothers, Kirby is basically the default hero. Because, I guess that's a privilege you get when you're the one who makes the damn game.
Yeah. So what happens is this dude guy thing called Galeem, in this scene that you're seeing right now, he's taking all the fighters and then he's cloning them. And
I love it. The Inklings just hide and they get nailed anyway.
They get nailed anyway, yeah. So he clones them, and Kirby is the only one to escape the attack. So you play as Kirby.
Snake!
Yeah. Burn the box away.
It's pretty funny. There's some good stuff in this. There's some good stuff in here.
Yeah, I guess. If you can look past all the absurdity of it.
Well, if you're not ready for absurdity, you're not ready for Smash Bros.
That's a good point. That's a very fair point. And so what's the single player mode called again?
World of Light.
World of Light. Yeah, and so it has like this very basic map screen, and you just basically walk from point to point fighting matches.
It reminds me a lot of Thronebreaker.
Yeah.
It's a similar kind of watercolor style. I think it looks nice, actually. There's not much to do, but it's pretty.
You're just walking on a map, a 2D map, and then you get to your next fight, you fight it, you win, you unlock a character, you go to the next one.
And there's all the fights.
You can unlock most characters literally in like 30 seconds. Hmm? Yeah, because each one of those matches, like especially at the beginning, the AI is so terrible you can beat them with like 2 whacks.
Well, the problem is finding characters, not winning the fight, because the vast majority of the fights just unlock spirits, which are they're like support things, or basically like stickers were in the previous game. And then every once in a while you see like a big little fancy rainbow wing idol thing, which looks like what Galeem looks like. He's that big seraphim looking thing. And then you'll fight a main character, and if you win that, you unlock him throughout the whole game. And because you start with, I think, the original 8 from the original Smash Brothers. Was it Mario, Zelda, Mario, Link,
Fox,
Pikachu, Fox,
Yoshi,
Donkey Kong, and I think
see Samus already.
Yeah. Something like
it's the original 8.
You know what we're saying.
You know what we're talking about.
And Kirby. Kirby's the other one. Of course.
Obviously.
Jesus, Kirby. God. So yeah, and then you slowly unlock it. But all the stages seem to be open at the beginning because holy crap.
Oh my god. I looked at there's like 80 stages, and the first one I picked was Castlevania. And then I found out Matt did the same exact thing.
Well, I wanted to pick Simon first to play, but he's locked away.
They're all, there's a lot of characters.
I enjoy unlocking stuff in games like this, but man, I feel bad for the people who just want to play this multiplayer and like have to rely on it's a random.
You got to play multiplayer with all the characters available.
Because like you basically have to play this and like wait for like randomly. It's all because the challenger that comes up against you seems to be random, and at least I don't think there's an unlock order, really. It seems to be just about anybody can show up. And so basically, if your favorite character is whatever, you're basically sitting there hoping that they challenge you soon so you can unlock them and play the game you want to play. I get the frustration on that. I do enjoy unlocking stuff, but like,
here's one thing I'm unclear
if you're
on.
in it for the competitive, like, man, this must be annoying as hell.
Here's one thing I'm unclear on. So right now we're seeing the whole spirits mechanic, and basically they're just buffs that you can apply to your character. My question though is, do these buffs only apply to your character inside the single player, or does it apply when you play online?
Different modes either allow or do not allow the spirit upgrades.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure online does not allow them.
Does not allow them.
I think so.
I mean, it shouldn't.
It's hard to tell because the online modes are rather limited.
Well, then you wonder, too, because it's like, what motivation do you have if it's not going to affect the character that you play with from multiplayer?
Well, because you can have them affect it if you want to set that.
You set the rules
if you set the rules up that way for Smash mode. Also because it means it makes it easier to get through the rest of the single-player game. I mean, you're basically playing this as a separate sort of mode, whereas you upgrade the characters to make it easier to get through. Because every match has a weird permutation to it. There's some weird gimmick to each match. Where like I was, before we did the show, I was trying to get through one where like it throws Dr. Mario and 3 tiny solid snakes at you, and explosions do extra damage, and every item that drops is explosive, and you're on the Star Fox stage that's just firing explosives constantly, and like I've probably tried it like 12 times, and I just keep randomly get killed over time. It's the standard sort of like Smash challenge thing where it's like it's not really fair. You're just sort of playing it until you get lucky enough that you win.
Finish it.
Yeah. So yeah, like if I had some spirits or something that made me more resistant to explosions, it would definitely have tilted the thing in my favor.
And all this stuff levels up. Like all your spirits level up, and then you actually have like buffs that you can install onto the spirits.
Yes.
And they level up, but it's all for naught, really. It makes playing through the single player a little easier, I guess. But
yeah, and it's also like, it's a way to kind of integrate more characters from the various franchises.
Yeah.
As sort of like, hey, look, it's what's your name from Xenoblade, or like
Right.
this guy. There's some deep cut characters in there, which is cool to see, and they all do they all do specific have individual effects and stuff, and they're usually related to what the character is or what they do, and that's nice. There's a lot of thought put into it. It's just it could be extraneous depending on how you look at it if you don't care about like kind of collecting all that stuff.
So it's not extraneous. You have to do it if you want to unlock all the characters.
Well, there's also like a rock paper scissors like sticker system with the spirits thing. So each character that you run into they're either like
Then there's this skill tree.
It's attack
on top
it's
of all that
attack
other
and
stuff.
defense and I think throw is it? And so like you get a bonus if you have the right spirit equipped that counters their thing, which actually does. Originally, I was like, whatever.
There's the stage select screen, people.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look at that.
That's not even all of it.
Well,
it's cut off by the graphic.
Cut off by the graphic. Look at that. It's insane.
Yeah, there's the last one's Castlevania there down at the bottom. That's every stage that's ever been in Smash plus a few others.
It's unreal, man. I've never seen a fighting game with that many stages in my entire life.
I have, but it was Mugen, and that doesn't count because that's just a random third-party thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, it was about time to do that. It was about time to say everything we've ever put in this, like, because that was like one of the things about waiting for the new Smash Brothers has always been like, is my favorite character going to make it in? Is that stage I like going to make it in? Is there going to be a replacement for that? Is that item I like going to be there? And now it's like, the answer is just yes.
To everything.
Great. Awesome.
Any question you ask, yes, it's there.
Yes,
I guarantee
it's here.
it's there. There's probably 3 variations of it there.
Yes.
It's really...
Even Ridley is here finally.
Finally, after all this time and all the requests from fans.
I should note I ordered the Ridley amiibo on Amazon like right around E3, like months and months ago.
Yeah.
And it arrived today, and it's the Japanese version.
Why would they send you?
I have no idea. I don't even know where they got that.
The Japanese
I don't know.
version?
It was from Amazon. It wasn't like a third. It was just a
I
pre-order.
wonder if Amazon, because it has all these problems with Nintendo of America, if it's starting to deal with NOJ instead.
It's either that or they got stock from NOJ to fulfill all their orders because they had too many for what they're going to get from Nintendo of America.
That's possible.
That seems like an expensive route to take to just get me a freaking $13 toy dragon, but hey, here we are. I mean, I don't care because I'm going to open. The problem would be if you're a collector that keeps them in the package because the packaging design is different.
Yep.
I don't care because I'm going to open them and just put them on the shelf because I don't get the amiibos much anymore. But you put a Metroid thing out, I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. But I thought that was weird. I just thought that was strange. I did not expect that. Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's Smash Brothers.
It is.
Like, it's Smash Brothers. Like, you either want this or you don't. And if you do want it,
And I'll say this: nothing that we tell you in this show is going to change that.
no, nor should
Either
it.
you want it or you don't. You know what it is already. Mm-hmm. You know what it is.
In fact, you're probably playing it now.
Yeah, you probably are. You're probably playing it while you're listening to us.
Why aren't you playing this while you're listening to us?
Well, they probably are.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
At least one
are.
at least one person in the chat is. I know.
At least.
Yeah. Well, no, I've literally seen people talking about what they're doing in Smash Brothers while they're watching right now.
That's funny.
SMC 92 Ian. SMC 92 Ian? Yeah, I guess.
So I'm going to be streaming this tomorrow, and I will put up my friend code on Twitter, so you guys can all add me as friends, so we can.
Leonosaurus is also playing it right now. See, you don't care what we say.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like you're there. We're all here already. We already have it.
If you're playing it right now, you love it. Anything we say about it, you're just going to hate us for it. So.
It looks real nice. I think I enjoy the World of Light mode. Shane does not.
Nope.
If you really want to get it just to play multiplayer with your friends, be ready to wait to unlock a whole bunch of shit. But if you do like unlocking stuff, it's a frickin' festival in here. It's great.
I will say I have discovered why I do not like Smash Brothers. Playing this one, for whatever reason, it just dawned on me why I don't like it. And the reason I don't like it is because how slow the jumping is. It's such a contrast to how quickly everything happens on the ground, and then you jump, and it's like you're jumping through like maple syrup. And it's all the characters are like that, and I get why, because a big part of it is getting thrown off the stage or whatever. and being able to get back. If it's not floaty and slow, it's going to be harder to get back onto the platforms. I totally understand why it's designed that way, but that's why I don't like playing it. I never feel like I can get into a flow playing this game. Like, I never feel like I get into a rhythm playing Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Gurzilla is saying that the character unlocks in World of Light don't carry over to the main game. That's not true, because I unlocked Marth in the World of Light, and I specifically jumped back out to the main Smash mode, and he's there.
Okay.
So any main characters you unlock in the World of Light seem to unlock in the main game overall.
But as far as any criticisms that I have of the game, I really don't have any. Like, the netcode's garbage.
Yeah, the online is not good right now.
And that's a direct result of Nintendo not having an Ethernet port on its console by default. Mm-hmm. So when you force,
especially in a fighting game, which is peer-to-peer by default.
When you force people to spend extra money for something, most people don't spend the extra money. So instead,
they got to save the money to buy the SD card.
Right. Oh, there you go. Exactly. You got to prioritize. And so the problem is you have most people sitting on some crappy Wi-Fi somewhere playing this game. And especially when you have 4 players, it can be a complete disaster. Like, I've literally had games start where it's just a slideshow right from the beginning. And it'll pause for 5 or 6 seconds at a time. It'll move for 2 seconds, and then it'll pause. It's actually kind of weird playing the game that way because you have plenty of time to prepare for, everything. Like, you look at the enemy animations, and you start to see them.
This is online, I take it.
Yeah, this is online, 4-player online. This is nothing, though. I left this footage in here because it's actually watchable. I have tons of footage of this where it's just stopped. Like, the net, I don't know if it's the netcode. I don't know if it's because a lot of people are playing on Wi-Fi. I don't know if it's a combination.
I think it's probably everything.
I think it's a combination of all of it. But otherwise, that's my only complaint. It's Smash Brothers. I've never been a huge fan of Smash, and I'm not a huge fan of this one. But if you are, you're going to love this game, and you're going to play it probably for the rest of your life, or until Nintendo puts out a 4K console, which is when I think we'll see a next Smash Brothers. I don't think we'll see another one until then.
Yeah, but even if that,
because that's when work will have to be done.
Right, but even then, I think it's going to be the same thing.
Oh yeah. They're not going to change it.
Yeah,
it'll just be 4K visuals. But
it's going to be Smash Brothers Ultimate 4K or something.
And in all honesty, I don't see Nintendo putting out a 4K console for another 4 or 5 years. So this Smash is going to be around. So this Smash is going to be around for a real long time.
We're barely reaching 1080p with this thing.
Yep.
So.
And I will say the modes and the options, in my opinion, are extremely robust. There is almost too much crap to fiddle around with in this game.
Although not the online. Again, the online is the exception all the time in this game. It's weird. Like the previous game, you could pick the two. You could pick either. I think it was for fun or for glory. It was you could pick either. It was
basically ranked or unranked.
It basically threw you into either like a free for all with everything crazy, or more of a tournament style, straight up. You can just play a straight match with no items or whatever like that. In this one, there's no real way to differentiate. So you can go and go to get quick play or look for a match, but you might end up in not the one you want to be playing.
You may end up
you get
playing
teamed
as a
up with
team,
random people
because there's 2-on-2 battles where you're fighting on a team.
And that's not super unusual in fighting games really, but the fact that the online is that limited and spare in terms of controlling your experience, whereas every other mode in this game is nothing but options, is a little odd.
Now, if you want to do private matches, everything's there. If you just set up a private session with your friends or whatever, the sky's the limit. The options are overload.
Yeah.
But if you want to play with people that you don't know online, the options are extremely limited.
If you intend to play this in person with your friends, I think the value goes up exponentially.
Absolutely.
The online is not really a great substitute for having people there on the couch with you.
Nope. And they never will be.
Never will be, but even by normal standards, this falls short in that regard, I think.
Another thing I noticed about
the brief amount I
Smash
played
that has bothered me for a long time, and again, I think it's something that really keeps me from enjoying it, is that I can never follow my character. When stuff goes crazy, I have no idea where my character is.
I have trouble with that too, and I've been playing this series for almost 20 years.
I mean, so have I, but I've never been able to do it. I cannot follow my character.
But I have trouble following the characters in this and in the last one to some degree, in ways I never did in Melee. Because I
Because there's
played.
just so much more detail in the visuals.
Well, also
and
like there are a lot
everything
more
now.
effects and like
Yeah.
smoke everywhere and stuff.
Yep.
But man, there's points where I'm just like, I've completely lost track of my character and I fell off this. I'm like, wait, I'm dead? Oh, that
That
wasn't
happens
me.
to
I
me
was
all
like,
the time, man.
And like
All
that,
the time.
I rarely have that problem in games, and this one is very cluttered in terms. And like, man, I'm playing on a 65-inch screen. I don't know how people are
too.
playing this thing handheld.
I'm playing on 65.
Like,
I don't know how.
so
I
tiny.
have no idea how you can play this handheld. No clue. I don't know why you would want to be honest.
I had a friend up north who he bought the last one. He bought the one for Wii U, and we got home, we played it for a bit, and he's like, "Get it, we're going to Best Buy." We went and bought another. He bought a bigger TV because that was the thing that finally because he'd had the same like 30-inch TV
Right.
like mounted on the wall.
It was
for, like,
always good
forever.
enough.
And we're like, I can't see anything. And he's like, "All right, it's time to go get another television." Like he'd been like
convinced
thinking
him.
about it for like a year, but Smash Brothers for Wii U is the thing to finally push
Like,
him over.
okay. He's like, yeah, now I see where it's being a detriment to my life. And that's when I pulled the trigger. But otherwise, I mean, it's a great Smash Brothers game. It's got everything
Yeah.
in it. It plays smooth and quick if you're not playing online.
They brought back like a campaign and single player stuff, which I appreciate because I thought the last one was very light on that kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like it's 60 frames per second.
Yeah. It
Seems like it to me.
it's a super complete package.
I haven't put it through like a compiler or anything. It's just
No,
the eye test. It seems to
no,
be.
it looks.
60.
I mean, if it wasn't, we'd have heard about it. by
Yeah,
now,
you're
I
right.
promise.
You're right. Yeah.
No, it's great.
If you're a
Like, that's
Nintendo fan, it's fun
if
to
that's
just
what you
fiddle around
want,
with.
it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to win you over if you weren't already converted, I don't think. But if this is,
Exactly.
it's definitely a better, more complete experience than anything we've gotten for a long time out of this series. So.
Yep. And hopefully they get the netcode fixed, or some of y'all get the Ethernet adapter.
Yeah, or I mean, we're paying for it now, Nintendo.
That's a good point too.
You gotta get it working right.
I just don't know if it's their fault. Like,
I don't know. It's
I mean, other than the fact that they refuse to put an Ethernet port in their console,
Yeah.
but the rest
that's
of it,
not going to be. But it's like Wi-Fi should be enough. I mean, GDPO can run almost anything very well. Peer-to-peer for fighting games. There's no reason a company with the resources and expertise of Nintendo shouldn't be able to design something as good. If that is in fact the problem. I mean, Wi-Fi speeds today should be fast enough to do something decent, or at least something better than what it's doing right now.
I would say this. I would not recommend buying this game if you're going to play it by yourself. Matt likes the single player more than I do. I think it's a complete waste of time.
Well, it's a party game, like at its heart. Like it's for playing with other people,
Yeah.
and messing around with stuff like that. I mean, again,
But if you don't have an internet connection and you have no one to play with locally, I do not recommend buying this at all.
unless you just want kind of a big Nintendo celebration,
Yeah,
which is
you
pretty
want to have
much
like a
what it is.
Nintendo orgy. That's pretty
Yeah.
much what it is. What Smash Brothers is. So, for those of you who love Smash, easily worth the $60. I think anybody else should probably just stay away. I'm not a fan of the franchise, and this game has not changed my perspective at all. Mm-hmm. And Matt, it probably hasn't moved you one way or the other either.
Yeah,
I'm
I
guessing.
still like it. I don't love it, but it's Smash Brothers.
Yep.
And it's for the first time in like 3 games, I'm not sitting there saying, "Well, it's cool, but I wish Donito was in
Right.
it." You know,
Right.
and
There's none of that.
nope, they're all here.
Even
Everything's
stuff
here.
you never dreamed of wanting
Yep.
apparently are going to come to this game eventually. So
Hopefully, I'll get Simon unlocked soon because still,
you got all
still
weekend.
going.
you got all weekend to have you, Matt. All right. It's time for our trailer of the week. Also, your cue to get your questions in for Q&A afterwards. Obviously, with the Game Awards happening this week, there were plenty of trailers to choose from, but we ended up using a lot of them for B-roll for our discussion. So I went with something that was not released specifically for the Game Awards, but in hindsight, it probably should have been at the Game Awards, and that is the release date announcement trailer for Below. Below is going to be released, people. It's actually coming.
5.5 years later.
And it's coming December 15th
Yep.
in like a few days.
Yep. 7 days.
Yeah, so it's coming soon. This is the first trailer in like months and months for it. Let's roll it. So do you think it's going to live up to expectations after all that time?
I don't know. What are expectations for that game?
I think at one point I think they were really high. I think now people just assume it's going to suck because it's taken so long for an indie game to be finished.
I'm just astounded we're going to play that before Crackdown 3.
That's a good point.
It's like that and Crackdown 3 are like the last of the Microsoft holdouts.
No, you're right.
It's like, yes, finally, get them off the schedule so we can move on.
Just re-announce Scalebound and be done with it, damn it.
It's interesting how the visual look of that game has changed over time. Where like originally it was more of like a voxel, sort of like flat shaded look, and now there's a lot more detail in the environments. I don't know. I mean, I'm interested, but like, it's hard to have a lot of confidence in something that's been delayed that much.
It is. I'm gonna play it though. I'm still holding out some hope. Here's some questions from Headingham J. Do either of you think that Steam is feeling the pressure now that Epic Store is launched with a much better incentive for devs and publishers? Well, that was actually one of the topics on the show, so maybe you joined in a little late, but that was one of our 5 topics in this episode. Yes, Steam. The people that work at Steam are way too smart to not realize what's going on right now with Epic Store. Epic Store is a game changer. It could change not just Steam in the gaming industry, but it could change online digital marketplaces for every industry. I mean, if Epic's smart, it's got plans already to start invading some of those other markets where, again, it's like we're seeing now 12% is more than enough to run a business on. And Valve all along was like, oh, no, we need that 30. No, you didn't. Gaben's bank account needed that 30%. And it might ultimately be Valve's undoing.
They needed that 30% to make their 14th failed prototype of Half-Life 3.
Well, I mean, that's the sad part of it all, is that none of that money was being reinvested into products that their fans cared about. None.
Or the least anybody ever saw.
Right.
Artifact?
Yeah, we've been waiting all our lives for that shit. Good one. Let's see. Oh, here's a good question from Vincent, actually. With this GameFace being late, when are the last 2 of the year going to be? So there's 2 episodes left of GameFace for the year. So I leave to go back to the East Coast on the 19th. And then I'll be on the East Coast for the holidays. And then my wedding anniversary is actually December 28th. So we do the holidays, and then we do our wedding anniversary, and then we come back. So I will be out of the Los Angeles area from like the 19th until like the 2nd-ish, somewhere around there. So I leave by the 19th, and today's what, the 10th?
Today's the 9th.
Today's the 9th. So we have basically 9 days to get 2 episodes done. So probably... Today's the 7th?
Yeah. Was it? Oh, tomorrow's the 8th.
Okay.
Right.
So we have...
for some reason, for a long time, I thought the Game Awards were on the 8th. And so I keep thinking yesterday was the 8th.
Gotcha.
But it was the 6th.
Okay, so we have 12 days to get 2 episodes in, which actually works out kind of perfect. So probably, I don't know, we may just stay on this Friday thing for next week, because it's going to be hard to get another show ready to go in 3 or 4 days. We only have so much time to play stuff, and there's only so much stuff coming out. So, and then, of course, our last episode is our Game of the Year episode. So we'll be doing some wrap-up in the next episode. We'll probably settle out our video game fantasy stuff next episode. Just tying up lots of loose ends and maybe pick up some stuff that we didn't play as much.
Would you rather play Red Dead Online or Dark Souls?
Dude, that's a good one. Dark Souls. Because at least Dark Souls is controlled, and I feel like I'm in control of it.
All right.
Red Dead Online, I have no chance of ever enjoying that because I have to deal with other people who are in control of my enjoyment of it. So, yeah, I would rather play Dark Souls than Red Dead Online.
Well, slap that on the box.
There you go. Shane Satterfield.
Would rather play Dark Souls.
And he hates Dark Souls. Sleepy Droid, did you think that the Game Awards would have more announcements?
No, there was a lot of
announcements. There's a lot. We just went over 13 of them, and we cut out like half. That's a lot. I think maybe you're saying more big announcements.
I mean, I didn't expect them to.
But there's some big frickin' announcements.
There's a Dragon Age tease. You had Mortal Kombat. You had a new Far Cry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you expected. I mean,
people expected Metroid Prime 4. There was a lot of people. There was a
it's
lot of
already
rumors,
announced though.
but there were a lot of rumors flying around that you were going to see the first footage of it, which I always thought was ridiculous. But like, people want to believe what they want to believe. So.
But that wouldn't be an announcement because it's
No.
people already know about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Honestly, you may have missed our discussion about it. We both think it was amazing. It was like the best like gaming award show ever by several magnitudes. So that's definitely not an area where I thought it came up short. I thought there was plenty of announcements and plenty of really good ones. Sifted Games, what do you need for streaming? OBS.
OBS and a computer and a game.
That's pretty much it. Like if you want to like stream PC games, that's all you need, really. If you want to stream console games, then you need a card to interface with the PC from your console. So you can get different kinds of those. You can get one that's installed in your PC, or you can get these little capture cards that you can buy. AverMedia makes a ton of different ones. Hauppauge, I don't know how you say it, makes a ton of them. But they're usually like anywhere from $150 to $200, and they're very simple. It just has an HDMI in and an HDMI out, and then a USB that goes into your PC, and it just will pull the footage into your PC that way. Once you have that, you can stream through OBS. It'll automatically detect those little boxes, and it'll pull the footage from that into OBS. OBS is what allows you to put like graphical overlays and a webcam and things like that and kind of mix them all together. It's kind of like a software version of a TriCaster with like 1/1,000,000th of the functionality, but just the functionality that you need to stream video games, I guess is the best way to describe it. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically what you need. No matter what, you're going to need a PC. There are a couple capture cards that will capture without a PC, but ultimately you're going to need to get that footage somehow off that SD card, and you're going to need a PC for that. So, base, you're going to need a PC. Definitely going to need a capture card if you want to do consoles, and no matter what, you're going to need OBS, and OBS is absolutely free. You got one?
Yeah, Congrim1 asked, Norman Reedus was recently on a podcast and was asked a few questions concerning Death Stranding. One of the few things he mentioned is he only has a few more motion capture sessions left and expects it to release early next year. Although he probably is naive of development and polishing in games, do you figure it may actually release with him being done shortly? I mean, there were a lot of talk flying around that it might be June. That would be inordinately soon for a Kojima game. But as we've said before, Sony might be riding Kojima a little harder than he's used to get something done in a reasonable amount of time. So the idea of it being next year is, I'm not going to totally count that out. I mean, I don't know how much, mocap stuff that he's doing, usually that's done pretty early in development, but knowing Kojima, he might have been doing reshoots or whatever, like some last minute stuff, you don't know. It's entirely possible. It also would explain why he wasn't at the Game Awards, because if they're that close to, the final stretch, he probably has work to do and can't leave Japan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not going to say no to 2019 for Death Stranding right now.
I think it's pretty likely at this point that that's when it's coming out. It is Kojima, which means it could come out in 20 years.
Yeah, but it feels like
when you're working on Sony's dime, I think you might have a little bit of a kick in your step.
Yeah, and Sony, I feel like, they need some stuff next year, and that'd be a good feather in their cap.
Yep.
To get a Kojima game out in a 4-year span. That's pretty good.
Absolutely. This is the last one. The JBone29. How big of a deal is it that Xbox doesn't have an exclusive Marvel game?
I don't think it's a deal at all. I mean, it's
You were talking earlier about how next year is going to be a big deal with the new film coming out. And
but like...
It's the biggest IP in the industry, blah, blah, blah.
And it's good that Nintendo got something for itself, but... if you're talking about waiting on the Square games, I don't even know if any of those will make it next year. So, I mean, unless the Avengers game is like tied in so hard. I mean, because the Square games are not MCU canon, but they are based on the cinematic universe stuff. So if their game for the Avengers is tied directly in somehow with Avengers Endgame, then it would make sense that they aren't showing it until Endgame is more, up front and maybe already released and shown.
Yeah.
Because you can't show stuff until the movie's out and everybody's seen it. but like you're starting to hit EA levels of Star Wars delay here, where it's like, yeah, you gotta put something out, boys.
Yeah.
Like it's getting up there, and like Avengers Endgame is going to be the fever pitch of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But we don't know. I mean, Phase 4 starts 2 months, 3 months later with Spider-Man Far From Home. But like, we don't know if the fever pitch on Marvel is going to continue after Infinity War. Probably will.
It will.
But like,
it will.
but you're hitting a crescendo. You're hitting a 10-year crescendo here, and they've already said they're not going to do another big event like that for probably another 8 to 10 years. It's going to be more, individual and small, like Winter Soldier or Civil War style stuff,
Right.
where it's not like a big event.
Focuses on one or two characters instead of the whole posse.
So I don't know. This is where the iron is hot here in 2019, and if Square misses that window, they're blowing it, I think. But in terms of needing an exclusive on Xbox or whatever, I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, Marvel is important, but and Spider-Man clearly sold well, but I don't think you have the pedigree behind Marvel characters who aren't Spider-Man for Microsoft to go in that hard for an exclusive game.
Okay.
I think Spider-Man adapts so well to video games.
Absolutely, yeah.
And other Marvel characters tend to be team-oriented, and those are much harder games to make.
The Hulk game was...
Yeah, I mean,
a
the
good
Hulk game
example of like a character that I really liked, but you realize when you play him inside a game that it doesn't make the most sense.
Yeah, Ultimate Destruction was good, but you can blow that real easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think it's that's a super important thing to do, but I think Nintendo securing something like Ultimate Alliance that has so much of a huge roster and covers such a broad spectrum of Marvel fandom. And has like a functional handheld game that can kind of go on the system that appeals to sort of all audiences and families. Like, that's a really smart move. I don't think it's a make or break thing for like Xbox selling systems. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't think Marvel Ultimate Alliance is going to sell systems, Switches. I think it's going to sell a lot of copies to people who have Switches because it's going to hit that target right dead center.
All right. So that's it for the Q&A. Before we go, I want to mention a couple things. First thing I want to do is thank you guys. Our Patreon rebounded pretty nicely in time for the payment to go through. So it was a huge help for me because it's December and it's Christmas, and I need a ton of money just to get home. I need a ton of money, obviously, to get my wife something for Christmas. So that bump made a big difference. Now, as soon as it turned over, it kind of went right back down again, but whatever. I really appreciate that you guys kind of pitched in and helped us a little bit for December. It makes a big difference to me personally in my life. And I also want to thank some people. We got a ton of new people on our tier that gives people credit on GameFace. And actually, Sam, if you can roll that along the bottom. For the last several months, it's been like basically the same folks. Like a couple people would drop off, a couple people would add on it, but it stayed the same. But for this month, we actually added a ton of people, and I want to call them out by name. Paul Rudnick, and I'm going to totally butcher this name. I don't know how to pronounce it. Rafaelescu Minya?
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Stefan Becker, Steven Insler, Tom Duvak is also back. He was a patron, Give Me Credit patron for a long time, but he's back this month. Vladimir Mikolov also was a longtime patron at this tier and just came back. And Juan Choi. So welcome, guys. Thank you very much for pledging in that tier. It makes a big difference. If you're watching this on YouTube and you can't pledge to our Patreon, it would be awesome if you could. But if you can't, you can always give us a free $2.50 a month through Twitch Prime. The instructions for that are down in the description. I've had some people approaching me, asking me, hey, I would like to give you guys something for Christmas or whatever. Honestly, the best thing you can do if you want to give us a Christmas gift is buy a t-shirt. Because it solves two problems. One, it gives us money. And two, it gets rid of stuff at my house that my wife hates. So you can kill two birds with one stone, even if you don't like the shirts, which I think you will. In fact, I know you will once you put them on. They're like the most comfortable t-shirts ever. But even if you don't like them and you're just kind of looking at a way to give us a little bit of a bump or a Christmas gift or whatever, buy a shirt. I think that would be the best way to do it, hands down. So thanks to everybody who joined us on what is now our new night on Friday. It used to be our weekly night, but now our new night. And I hope you guys have a great and safe weekend. GameFace is up and out.